Just like in the movies.
Welcome to SuperWonder Legacy. I am Jared. I'm here with Britt. What's up, Britt?
Hello, hello.
And today we are discussing. This was an audience suggestion, and we are discussing what is probably the worst Superman animated series of all time, My Adventures with Superman. Britt knows I have about a hate relationship with this freaking show. So
hate.
it's very hate. It's more like loathe, but we'll discuss this as we go through. So what's up, guys? Ready to talk about Lois Lane and evil, aka racist Kryptonians? Yes. Oh yes, we are going to talk about that. So let's get this PowerPoint shared. In the meantime, Britt, so introduce the audience real quick to like your exposure to this show.
All right. So, well, when it was announced, it was the Cape Crusader and this. And at first, I didn't think it was real because I was just searching for Superman and Wonder Woman, stuff for Instagram. And I saw the promotional picture of it. I was like, this is basically like a fake anime, but okay, go with it. And the biggest thing though is like everyone didn't care for Batman and Superman getting an animated show. It was like, where's Wonder Woman's animated show?
Yeah.
And so when they the producer of it was talking about it or whatever, and she's like, oh, this is gonna be, an homage to the Donner films, and it's like a rom-com, and is basically like um
Hey,
westernized
Darius, what's
anime.
up, dude? He's like, you aren't the only one who despises the show. Somehow made me hate Lois Lane more than ever and ruined Superman again. Yes. I'm sorry, Britt. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. It was just that announcement of it, and seeing some of the promotional, art designs or whatever. And I'm just like, well, at first it's like Lois looks like the designs are actually from other shows like Voltron,
Mhm.
She-Ra, and I think Owl House, So that was another thing that kind of was going with the show of being made into memes. And I was like, just the designs alone was very off-putting to me, and I'll explain a little bit later. But yeah, the whole trying to be like a faux anime really was off-putting.
Yeah, exactly. So again, so this is like so the problem with this is the minute I see the Burn influence, the Donner influence, I'm like, oh god. And the one good thing about this show, Britt, and I reflected upon this, is it made people not like Lois briefly. And I was very happy about that. I was like, yes, let the hate flow through you. And it was really fun. It was really fun. But yeah, the problem with this is okay, so you have the show. And it got made because it was one of those like I believe it was a project left over from the merger or something like that, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Go ahead.
I think that is explained later on, but it was in production in 2018. And so yeah, that was the old regime. And with all the changes, they were canceling things left and right. Um, but it was James Gunn who actually saved the show because he liked it, quote unquote. Um, yeah. So
I'm starting to see I'm starting to see a pattern here. If James Gunn saves something, it's not necessarily a good thing.
True. I mean, when he apparently there's a rumor, I don't know if it was confirmed, but with the new animated show coming out in the winter, that was what he pitched, and then it wasn't greenlit by whoever was in control previously, but basically the shows that he pitched or his friends pitched, if they were rejected, he would, of course, greenlit them. Eh, I mean, to have that kind of power, of course, anyone would do that. But at the same time, with with the fact that DC is on like this tightrope of not gaining the audience though, of having a stable audience, I don't think playing favoritism is the right way to go.
No, it's definitely not. So, and by the way, memes actually brings up a good point. This show was legit made for the Twitter audience, and
Oh, definitely.
the reaction to it is definitely an indicator of that. And Meme Zero says that was Studio Mir. Okay, cool. Hey, what's up, Najee? I was wondering if you're going to reveal how the show's going. We'll talk about that later. So then, okay, so why make this show? And the thing is, the minute I see that they wanted to, the minute I saw that they were like homaging stuff that was like the stuff that Superman creatives have always tried to homage. That's my problem. They tried to market this as we're doing something new and fresh. No, you're not.
Right. It the only thing that they're doing different, and I really say that loosely, is that they are younger. And really it's kind of like they tried to do New 52, but
They're
with
missing a very vital part of that.
yeah, but having them as interns, um but the way that they, like I said, it's them trying to do anime and get that audience, Twitter audience and the anime audience. And it's just going so fast with all the relationship developments, with everything and um the some of the scenes, the bait or whatever, the shipping and all of that. That is pretty much just the basics of anime. And sometimes it can be very cringeworthy. Um and it really just made Superman like this. They call There's a term on Twitter, and a slang term, like baby girl, in a sense of he's very sensitive, he's very um this shy, golden retriever type guy.
Mm.
And he's very soft. Like he isn't tough. From some of the fight scenes that I've seen on the show, he can't fight.
No, he sucks at fighting, and I'm like,
Yeah,
what
and he
the hell?
loses.
Oh, and
He
by the
he
way, he causes a lot of property damage. So apparently, everyone that loves this but hates Zack Snyder's Superman are idiots. I saw an article when I was looking for images, by the way, that said that like this show finally makes Superman interesting.
I mean, I don't know how it makes him interesting
How?
because it's pretty much watering down. That's the whole thing about Superman, is that he, because of um John Byrne's, his legacy for Superman has been to water the character down. So it's this, the fans that he has now, is if he is normal and relatable in a sense of, rejecting his heritage and going through things that really isn't um too much out of the ordinary, and being embarrassing, being the galoot, being the bumbling idiot or whatever, then they will accept that. If he actually goes through anything out of the ordinary, extraordinary, embraces, who he is and his heritage, then they throw a fit. So with this show, and from the very first episode, you have Clark
Mm.
just singing Lois odes like she is the best of everything. She is, you know, the best reporter, the best. Just she is who he trusts, and it's like you only knew this. girl for like 2 days. So
And
why
that
are
is a
you?
load, as a friend of mine would say, that is a load of sugar honey iced tea.
Yes, yes, it very much is. I mean, it's a big picture of it. It's yeah, it's a gallon of that.
But
Um,
Darius says that this show was the example of why DC can't do anime. There's no reason to make Superman into a super simp a la post crisis or make Lois Lane the main character. Yeah, that's my other problem. So in a show about Superman, it's mostly about Lois.
yeah, it is my adventure with Superman. So I guess it is in her, point of view. I get that, but at the same time, you are only using Superman again to because Lois can't obviously um have a show be independent on her own, then yeah, you use Clark as this golden retriever, this cheerleader for her. And that
Oh,
is
you mean like how people say that she had like this best-selling series in the 60s that was called Superman's Girlfriend?
right. And uh the promise of that was basically getting into bizarre shenanigans for Superman to end up marrying her. So it's still all about her relationship with Superman, is not her being independent. And this show really emphasized on her not being independent. They can say she's this feisty reporter that you know, but at the same time, it shows how selfish she is.
Yeah.
Again, from the first episode, she lied to Clark and Jimmy. She almost got them into trouble, got them in danger.
Well, remember
And
how she exposed, how she made Clark reveal his secret identity. But I mean, Zero has a good point. The Superman is what I do, Clark is who I am trope has been beaten to death so many times, it's not even funny. It was never funny because all that is, you know what it ultimately is, Britt. It comes down to laziness because the writers are too lazy to want to expand on his Kryptonian heritage. So they're like, okay, throw all that away and focus on his human one because I don't want to think.
right, it's basically like just as every other what we see now of people, ordinary people gaining powers, is some weird, bizarre um phenomenon that happens. And that's basically what they want to happen to Clark, is that he grew up as Clark Kent on a farm, and I don't know, I guess he got struck by a meteor or something, instead of that he's from that he was rocketed from a total different
Well, remember,
planet.
these people think that the Man of Steel John Byrne, where he was technically born on Earth, is still canon.
Yeah, and honestly, that's really degrading, I would say, and very offensive to people. It's basically like it's really like you can't come from a different country, and you are shut out if you aren't an American or from whatever country, that you are unwelcome if you aren't part of that already.
And yeah, remember there was that there was that incident with Byrne when he called immigrants that wanted to keep some semblance of their culture ungrateful.
I mean, that really makes no sense, because when you think on reality of your own ancestry, you want to know, like, your I would say, some people, they want to know their ancestry, because you can be sitting right next to your cousin on a bus or something,
Hmm.
and you don't know it. You can um for medical reasons, so many people now have medical issues, and it's hereditary. So you
Hmm.
have to know your you have to know, things from your family. So you just can't, even if they want to have like Superman with a legacy with children, how does his powers, how does being a Kryptonian affect those children? And
And
obviously,
by the way,
mhm,
explore that. Just want to bring that in there.
okay, you kind of like paused.
Oh, I'm
little
sorry.
bit.
I'm sorry. Britt and I may be working on a little story to explore that concept.
Oh, yes, yes, we are. Can't reveal it yet, but it's so exciting to build up to it. But yeah, so the fact that Burns said that being ungrateful to know about your, being an immigrant and embracing that just doesn't make any sense. I mean, I know that anyone would want to know where they come from. Um, and I'm pretty sure unless he is just ashamed his own self of his own family, I mean, that's on you. You can be ashamed all day long as your person, but to for this character to be an inspiration, worldwide for children, and you have children feeling as though they are bullied for what they look like, their beliefs, their culture, their just their household period. This character is supposed to represent to not be ashamed of that. So when you write him as being ashamed, that is the message you are giving to children.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. So continuing on. So obviously, we're going to talk about the influences of the show, which it's the John Byrne Man of Steel series, which okay, but it's also the Reeves movie, and I understand why they're doing that. It's just my problem with basing your thing off the Reeves movie is because basing modern Superman interpretation solely on that has proven to not work for the character. Because even Reeve himself, when he stopped playing Superman, he said, "No, I want to see other interpretations of the character. I don't want to be the definitive Superman."
Right. Um, he he basically said to an interview that he wanted to get away from the the coward part, the bumbling idiot, the that you accidentally bump into things, that over exaggeration. He didn't want that anymore. So why do you continue to, if the actor himself said to move away from that,
If the
then
actor that you guys consider the definitive Superman says, "I don't like this," boop.
yeah, but no, they want to continue on ignoring his basically his wishes and do what comes easier. And
I gotta highlight this comment. Darius goes, John Byrne is the same box as Dan Doomsday. Doomsday's the only thing I can write, jerkins.
that is so
Gee,
true.
Jason. Oh my gosh, yes, Darius. Jerry says writers who have no clue who Superman is as a character between that level of ignorance or constantly downplaying Clark's Kryptonian heritage. No wonder. No, it is not. No, it is. If anything, the new 52 Superman that Jurgens hated is more in line with what the Siegel and Schuster wanted.
Exactly. I mean, that to say that New 52 Superman um wasn't real, to have him die of cancer in a sense. All of that, to go back to a Superman that you have him name his son after a xenophobic villain. I mean, I know that he's your father-in-law, but at the same time, he hates you. So why would you even think to name your son after him? That
Also,
is,
this iteration of Superman is partly why the DC got rebooted because eventually it dropped in sales. Well, it dropped in sales the minute they brought him back to life. So I'm
yeah,
like, you're. This is why DC's struggling. They keep
yeah,
basing it off of stuff that historically doesn't work monetarily. Because here's the thing: you could have your preference of which character, which version of the character is great. The reason why Britt and I believe that if they go back to like the new 52-ish like way of writing the character, that it would work, because historically in terms of sales it worked. That's the thing. It would be one thing if our preferences like SuperWonder or this version of Superman didn't sell. It would be one thing, but it did
yeah.
dramatically.
Right. And you can see from that quote, she says, Josie Campbell, she says that it was for that time period. Yes, for that time
Yeah,
period,
and that's
not
fine.
for
That's
modern.
pre-Crisis Superman because it came out before Crisis. That's that's why to a certain degree I like that movie because it's very of the time, and you can see what Superman was like at that time. Man of Steel, the movie, is legit what even post-Crisis Superman was at a certain point. So anyone that tells you that's not comic accurate, anyone that tells you that Christopher Reeve is 100% the Superman, that's Superman, I'm like, he's not modern Superman because modern Superman acts a lot more like Henry Cavill. He's beating Darkseid to death.
That, and also, I mean, to think that giving up your powers, having this resentment towards yourself just because you can't be with a person. I mean, obviously if you have to downplay part of yourself and or ignore it, you know, cut away from yourself for a person, then obviously that person isn't for you. And
Exactly.
the way Superman is belittled, even in the recent Action Comics backup series
Oh
story.
God. By the way, Britt, even my Lois loving friend Robert hates it. Hey, what's up, dead guy? Good good to see you, brother. I haven't seen you in a while. But yes, even my friend Robert, who like loves Lois, even he said, "Yeah, I don't know what the hell that was."
Yeah, the fact that because she is the editor in chief now, she felt that in order for her to feel like the boss and that she has control, she belittled Clark, and she's basically jeopardizing his job, and feels like, and he's the one that has to compromise and say, well, you're right, or he has to guilt himself into being who he is. And it's so, I mean, that's very much a double standard. And
Yeah.
to say that it's a conflict of interest that he's writing on himself, yes, it's very much a conflict of interest. But also Lois, very hypocritical in those
When
things.
she says
She
that you're too close to the story, I'm like, hey, a-hole, you wrote about him as you were dating him.
Exactly, you married him. And even Jurgens wrote that someone questioned her, asking, "Who's your source?" And then she's like, "Oh, it's a close source, and it's Superman. He's giving her stories." So it's like, Lois, you aren't doing anything. You have Superman tell you information,
Honestly,
and
Britt,
then
when Clark says, "Well, Diana doesn't have a Pulitzer," I'm like, I'm starting to question whether or not whether or not Lois really earned that Pulitzer because it makes it seem like she's using her special source that happens to have superpowers. That's the thing. When they try and hold up this character, they don't realize they just dig her deeper into the grave of hatred.
exactly, she's not an inspiration as as what her fans want her to be, as this female empowerment. She isn't, and I'm saying that as a woman myself,
Yes, there
as
you go.
a reader. She is not any type of representation of female empowerment. She is a love interest. She has these they say that she's feisty, that she's hard nosed, or whatever, that she speaks for the truth.
No,
No,
she doesn't.
because at the end of the day, she is still lying. She is still the conflict of interest. She is sleeping with her source.
Now,
She has
now,
a whole
Britt,
family.
if
Hmm.
only there was another DC character that was the embodiment of truth.
Exactly.
Heck,
No, she, not only that, but she is the epitome of it. She
yeah.
is the she is what the truth is. And the fact that Tomasi wrote that Diana, um, Clark, again, being so much of an a-hole towards Diana, in the truth art, to say about lies of omission, is like, okay, so are we not reading, like,
The answer is
the
yes. We are
85
we
years
are not reading. The answer is yes.
the 85 years or so that Superman has lived lies of omission, you know That's what he
That
does
particular
every single day
Superman, well, actually, Superman literally never told Lois who he was. So in a
until
way,
they
he
got
was doing that to
engaged.
literally everyone, even the town Smallville. By Darius says the fact that new 52 Superman was taken down by kryptonite cancer and replaced with classic Super Dad just to satisfy Close fans, a massive insult to both the character's legacy and fans as a whole. And DC has suffered ever since, but still don't get it. Yep, exactly, my good friend. Continuing
Right.
on. So we're going to talk about all the problems of this show. Hey, what's up, Claudia? So we're going to talk about the character designs, the character developments, relationship dynamics and progression, the plotting issues, and this is a big one for Britt and I, the demonization of Krypton and the wrong message that sends. All right. So I made slides for each of these so we can go in depth of these. So first off, who the hell was character designing these characters? Because Britt, all right, my top. So Britt, you should know this. Who is my favorite DC villain?
I want to say Darkseid.
Yes, that's good. He is. But who's my second favorite? I'll give you a hint. He's literally on the slide.
Wait, is he? Oh,
He,
Deathstroke.
yes, Deathstroke. The minute I see NSYNC boy band Deathstroke, I'm like, I'm out. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Did you say boy band?
Yeah,
Oh
I said
God.
NSYNC boy band Deathstroke. That's who it is.
Okay, now NSYNC. Okay.
Bye, bye, bye. That's what I say to this to the slate. Bye, bye, bye. See you later.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay, Jerry. That was funny.
I know. And the fact that they literally ripped off a Dragon Ball Z character for Kara.
Well, the thing is, yes, Dragon Ball Z was one of the animes that was influenced by this, but they want to fight back and say that Dragon Ball Z was influenced by Superman, which is true.
It was.
However, it is very, very lazy with the fact of it's not even an homage. It's basically a copy and paste of the character design. And Kara, I mean, just the whole storyline is basically Dragon Ball Z, but it's more watered down. It's not as intense, Like I said, Dragon Ball Z is influenced by Superman, with Goku being from what is it? It's their planet, Vegeta and all of that. But at the same time, it's just, I guess, the intensity of it and the excitement of it though. And it's not dragged down by trying to um appease a certain corner of Twitter that wants these characters to be basically sexualized. I mean, how are you
Well,
sexual?
I've
With
seen fan art of Twitter of someone putting the Clark from this in a French maid outfit.
yes,
And
having him.
also, who the hell designed Lois?
So Lois's design is very much a combination of a Voltron design, which was actually like a boy design.
Yeah.
Um,
It's Lance from Voltron. That's literally what
yeah,
that is.
it's Lance from Voltron, and I believe a Owl House, Lowe's, and from Shira, another character. So, but
But
the
she
fact
looks like a little Asian boy. She doesn't look like Lois Lane. If anything, Vicky Vale in this show looks like Lois Lane.
she did, she did. But yeah, for them to say, "Oh, she's a tomboy," no, and she's not a tomboy. This is not a tomboy look. This is very much a kind of like a little 12-year-old boy. That's it. And her haircut is not a pixie cut at all. Yeah, that's not
It's a little too boy. Kara looks like a girl. Lois looks like a little boy. In which case,
right.
this should be right up John Burns' alley. But the thing
Oh
about
my
this,
goodness.
yeah, the thing about I'm still pissed off that he got work despite despite writing Superman making out with a 14-year-old. Anyway, when I see this, and it's kind of funny. So I reacted to these episodes weekly with Taladia, and it's kind of funny. I dreaded it. But what's kind of funny is that then Britt would send me like DMs of pictures from the episode going, "Why does Lois look like a little boy?" And I'm like, I don't know.
It
And it's like, here's the other problem, Britt. And one of my viewers brought up this issue. Why is every single Superman villain basically Iron Man?
yeah, it's very much tech based than like the sci-fi sort of alien type, supernatural based. It's kind of like they didn't care for the designs of the villains. They didn't care for the characterization of the villains. They just wanted, again, they just copied other designs from other shows and really did not care, for the actual lore. It's it feels like they are using just the character names, but not the actual, um so much of what the character is supposed to be.
Oh, also, Britt, I didn't know Deathstroke was a Superman villain. There's a very important reason why I'm using that argument, Britt, because there are people that are like, Superman can't fight Darkseid. Darkseid's not a Superman villain.
No, that is a
And
lie.
I'm like, you do realize he debuted in a Superman comic, right?
Well, that just shows how, I mean, I understand that there's a lot of history and that you won't know every story. However, Google is right there. You can easily look up
Well,
this information.
particularly since the person was like, you should, the book the person cited that tweeted this was like, you should read the New Gods book by Jack Kirby. And I'm like, read before. Darkseid has existed before that book came out. And they say Snyder fans don't read comics. I'd probably have read more than that particular person, but I'm not trying to quantify that because I believe quantifying how much comics you read as somehow an argument is meaningless. But and it broke my, because I am a Deathstroke dude. He is a fantastic character. When I see this guy, it makes me. I hate this version of Deathstroke about as much as I hate Lois Lane and Steve Trevor. That should tell you something. Because first off, his family's never mentioned. He only gets his eye patch at the end of season 2. And then he is particularly Iron Man. They give him basically this weird Iron Man armor, and he doesn't behave like Slade at all. He's just and Deathstroke is not a henchman of Amanda Waller. I'm gonna be clear on that. Here's the other thing. I'm sick and tired of them trying to turn Amanda Waller into this big bad. It's so overplayed. They tried to do this with the DCEU. They're doing this with the comics. They're doing this with the games. They did this with the show. And I'm like, stop it.
And now James Gunn is doing it also with DCU. But also just looking at these designs, you can't tell who they are. Like you
Yeah,
can't.
in no way is this Silver Banshee. In no way is this live. Well, maybe it's a little bit of live wire because of the electricity. This only looks like
I
Parasite
mean,
because it's
really, you
purple.
wouldn't know. You wouldn't even know that that was live wire because just because of electricity. I mean, it's a lot of characters who have electric power, so you wouldn't really know who that is.
Oh, and also, here's the thing. We'll talk about this in terms of plot. Clark gets electric blue powers, but they never explain or address them.
Because they wanted him to have some type of like blast from like Dragon Ball Z. The
He literally has the solar flare power from the New 52. Just take that.
Yeah, they weren't thinking through anything like that. Um
Yeah.
yeah, so just the
Don't
whole
get me started on what the show did to Lex Luthor. That's a crime in and of itself. Yeah, it is.
yeah, he looks like a computer nerd that's just angry at like I don't know. I guess like angry at the football star or something. And honestly, again, with the designs, Clark is very tall, and so Lois is short. There is an image that she looks like a kid compared to him as Superman.
Right
And
up John Burns' alley.
yeah, and it's kind of like it is so off-putting, to see how Superman fans on Twitter be like, "Oh, they have this fetish for height differences," and it's like, what is the big deal about height differences? Is it it is very weird to me, and especially when the girl looks very much like either a little, in a sense of how Lois is designed here, it's not a tomboy look. It's really doesn't look like a pixie cut. So she looks like a little boy. And then if you
Oh,
do have
wait.
a
Mhm.
actually, did you go forward
Hmm?
or backwards? Did you just go forward or backwards?
I skipped forward, but by accident.
Okay, well, the picture, one of them that I am referring to is on that slide. But
Oh, you
yeah,
mean this
the
one? Oh, wait. I think I know what you're talking about in terms of Lois and Clark.
yeah.
Is it this?
So not that one. Go, I think now go backwards then.
Wait, is it this one?
No,
Oh, there you
that
go.
one.
That right
Yes.
down there. Look at that. And in which case, we're actually on here. Character developments, but look at that.
Yes. And just the fact that she's so small and he looks like a grown man,
Oh,
with a
speaking of
kid.
fetishes, Brit, you know what I saw is right here. People were actually thinking this is sexy. The Clark taken over by Brainiac.
No, no, not at all.
Oh, and also that's Brainiac, by the way. And I'm like, in no, besides the dots on his head, in no way does that look like Brainiac in any
Yeah,
way.
no way.
He's never
So,
even he never even has any green. At least give him green lights.
so yeah, just the 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 designs are very problematic. And the thing is with anime, and you are uh, very confused and off, you know, anime is off-putting for you when we talk about it. And yeah, it's some very problematic tropes and designs there. You have where they normalize like the girl can be, even if she is like 25 years old, she looks like a 12-year-old. She's so small and petite and looks like a little 10-year-old. And
Or
that
it's
is,
like the stereotype of anime where like a man is having in a relationship with a 6-year-old, but it's okay because she's secretly an immortal.
or that the it is a new anime where the wife um she dies and she comes back as a little girl. And so
Mhm.
she goes to her husband and I don't know, it's very weird. I don't know if he like took her in to be like play a daughter or something. But yeah, it's or they have like this sort of I don't know if it's out yet. I don't know if I want to watch it, but it's kind
Nope,
of like
nope.
it's
It's like
but
so we did a stream year like a month, a couple of months ago about about our favorite animes, and the more that they started to explain this to me, it's kind of funny. I DM'd Brit when we were doing the stream. I'm like, I am so confused right now.
right.
The minute someone was explaining to me the plot of an anime called Student Teacher, I was like, nope, nope,
Oh,
I'm out. I'm out. See
yes.
you later.
It it is a lot of animes where the student has a relation with their sensei, and it is uh, yeah, it's very problematic, and they normalize that. So it feels like here they try to normalize the exact problems anime have. Um, so that is the same thing that they did with Lois here, of having her look like a kid, kind of look like a little boy, and you have Clark being like this very tall, that looks his age. He looks older, and it's very off-putting to me because I know how anime is, and also the anime community is also a little problematic with that.
Yeah.
Is very
But
um
even on here, so now let me ask you this. So what do you think about the character developments in this show?
terrible,
Hmm.
awful,
Elaborate.
sugar honey iced tea. Um, okay, so like I said from the beginning, the very first episode, Clark, he wanted to be normal. He was just so like this mental gymnastics of I have powers, and one minute as a little boy, he is embracing himself to be so happy to be able to fly. He loved flying. He loved
Mhm.
playing, and you know, but then as he gets older, he it's kind of like he wants to you understand why, but at the same time, they just go so far as the mental gymnastic of he has to be normal. He has to just be this, you know, really just belittle himself. And then he meets Lois, and right off the bat, they try to just make it seem like love at first sight. And that is what the producer said, that Clark is just, he falls for Lois the second he sees her. But she is like, she doesn't care. She just wants to be a reporter and stuff like that. And it's kind of weird because, again, that is the most basic anime trope of romance. And some of them have the development of the romance where you can root for them. But here it just feels like, again, they're going for the cutesy, um, the just the Twitter crowd that the dark I would call them the dark Twitter crowd. The one that over sexualize, these characters. Um, so the romance deal was just very rushed. They didn't know each other for uh, not even a week, and they were already acting like they were so in love. Um, and with Lois, she wanted to use Clark to get the story, be this reporter. Once she threw herself off the
Speaking of that,
building.
hang on. Speaking of that, so I did a thing, Britt. I did a thing.
Hmm.
I got tweets that came out around the time that were out when that episode came out, and the time that Lois threw herself off the building. And we're gonna go through them. By the way, Joshua Taylor asks, would you say just anime all romance stories do that? In a way, but it gets a little contrived. Now, here are some tweets by people reacting to that scene when Lois threw themselves off the roof. So one person says, "Yeah, I'm with Clark on this one. Lois, you crazy." Another one says, "This scene from My Adventure with Superman is kind of in character for Lois, but it's also one of my least favorite aspects of her, and I wish writers would stop doing that. It was annoying when done in the comics. It was annoying when done in Superman 2, and it was annoying here. This feels like two love-struck teenagers trying to awkwardly navigate their way through high school. This is not Superman, nor is this Lois Lane." Yeah, it is, but I'll go with you.
Right.
The two always kept a cordial yet professional adult relationship, slowly
No.
growing into a romance. Blah. Clark should have been more in control of the situation. Even when Lois did finally discover Clark's identity, she handled it pretty well. Someone said, "Remember in Smallville when a female love interest found out Clark's secret? At least three did. And then, yeah, kept it secret. They didn't tell Clark they knew. They respected his privacy and his wishes and even helped keep his secret from others. Did no one watch that show?" The answer is no. Someone else says, "This incredibly toxic behavior from Lois, attempting to commit suicide to force his hand, and then still reacting like a petty B word when he revealed his secret to save her effing life. And what's worse is the show portrays her as in the right. This is such a bad lesson to be teaching children watching this show, especially girls. And yes, I know the Richard Donner movies did similarly. It was bad back then, with Lois acting like a sociopath, but she is at least still appreciated Clark kept it a secret and didn't guilt trip him. And then this is the worst trope in superhero media. Love interest girl, a friend, gets mad when they find out their partner's a superhero. Just like Amber on Invincible, it's unrealistic and creates unnecessary angst. Ha ha! Oh,
Exactly.
Darius, the bright side is it cemented why Lois Lane is such a horrible person, a horrible choice for Superman to be with. It should have ended any talk of them being together in the show. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. And Bianca says, but she knew it was Superman, so she knew it would be fine to apologize. Yeah, but the way she acted at that point,
The thing is,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Britt.
the thing is, like you said, they acted like Lois was in the right. I mean, that is his
Mm-hmm.
secret. First of all, if you have to jump over so many obstacles and, like I said, the mental gymnastics of keeping a secret as big as this, part of your life, if you can't fully commit to, that 100% of telling the truth of who you are, and regardless of the I have to protect you type thing, if you feel like this person is going to be in danger and you can't 100% be honest, then that relationship is just not something that you can, go forward with. And a lot of the relationship problems that they had was very much glossed over. It wasn't actually explored. It's always Clark um apologizing, and it's him making it seem like he is the one that is in the wrong, and it's Lois that's right, and he has to change for her. It's the same thing of within season two, how um Lois, she said that is he kind of like, is it disappointing that she's human? And so
And I'm like, the minute I heard that line, I was like, oh, here we go.
Clark is like, well, are you disappointed that I'm like an alien and not from here? And he basically,
That's like saying, let's say Britt and I were dating, and I said, Britt, is it disappointing to you that I happen to be a white male?
right.
That's the energy this has, by the way.
Right. And so neither one of them actually answers the question. He basically says, well, it's Clark that answers her, saying that she's perfect. So she doesn't really answer the question of, does she has a problem with him being an alien? So basically, with her not answering it, it's like, yeah, it's a problem. But at the same time, he is the one that will change and be normal for her. And that is um and it's also Clark being like this savior, not only to save her from um basically committing suicide, and they make it out to be like this joke too, that Lois threw herself off an elevator shaft, and she knew that Clark would come, carry her, or he would save her. And it's kind of like, no, that is something that is so manipulative to me. It's so like, you're really taking advantage that he will drop everything and come save her. And she also has daddy issues. The whole thing is just her needing, she didn't get the attention that she wanted from her father. So Clark is the one that is giving her the attention that she needed as a little girl. And
Yeah.
so again, that's not very independent as a female, because you want this type of acceptance from a male, you
Wait,
know.
wait, wait, wait. Lois ends up liking Jimmy. Wait, you're talking about Kara? Yeah, that's more BS, but more on that later. So we get to plotting. Go on, Britt. Oh, by the way,
So
so for those of you that don't know what the image on the left is, so in every other world in the multiverse, apparently Superman is evil. So they're revisiting that BS thing. So then we have this League of Lois Lanes that travel the multiverse and recruit Loises to fight Superman. This episode is my personal hell. And although this also this also contributed to the birth of the Lois Lane is Lois Lane thing, because Mexoplick in the show refers to this as the League of Loser Lanes or something like that. So that contributed to it. Yes, it's that guy. That's more BS, but we'll get to it. Yeah, we are going to get there. But and yes, I did get monetized. Thank you. So Britt, plotting.
Okay, so again, the whole thing is very rushed. It's trying to mostly have like this romance plot, and is every type of romance conflict is glossed over. You have you have them going through Clark's, I would say, his early years in such a fast pace that you're not actually able to root for these characters, or invest in them, because they aren't exploring the actual hardships at all. um Lois, again, she has these insecurities, these daddy issues, and she needs Clark to basically fill in what Sam Lane didn't do for her. And Clark even says it in one of the episodes that he hurts you, so I'm not going to let him do it, or, I'm going to be there for you. And while, yeah, that's a very nice sentiment, but at the same time, that is the one thing that in relationships, you don't need someone to be uh, the codependency, and for someone to be the crutch and basically be the therapist for your childhood issues. Like, I'm not your parent. So, if you need to have that parental love, you need to make amends with your parents somehow, or you need to go to an actual therapist. But as a person that you are supposed to be romantically involved with, that is not their responsibility to help you through your childhood trauma, because that is only making them have issues too. And with Clark having um his issues with his family, well, I wouldn't say his family, more of his heritage, and trying to navigate knowing himself, it just feels like, again, he is putting himself on the back burner to comp to to just go within Lois's life. And the ending of season 2 was the same thing, that he would, wherever she goes, he would go. And it's like, okay, Clark, your life is not just for Lois. And that is DC's just overall problem with trying to make the close relationship work, is Clark has to be, if he is not with Lois, then he'll turn evil.
Here we go.
If
Darius brings that up. He says, if my mouse actually clicked, the League of Lois Lanes was not just a Rick and Morty spin-off, but the fact that it tried to make it seem like Lois is the only reason why Superman didn't go evil. Like he's an animal that needs to be tamed by her disgusted me. Did none of these writers read Kingdom Come? The answer is no, Darius. The answer is no.
right, it's that she is the only, and I can't stand that, because I've seen people talk about Superman and Wonder Woman being together, and there was a TikToker who did hot takes, and on
Oh,
his
is
comments,
this the one that everyone's been passing around recently?
yeah, and in the comments he said that someone said that with Clark and Diana being together, they feel less human and they're scary, and that the only reason why they feel scary is because they aren't just humans. They aren't what makes them scary. But you have Aquaman and Mira, you have Barda and Scott, you have Carol and Hal, you have even Batman and Catwoman. You have all these different superhero couples. They aren't
Apollo
scary.
and frickin' Midnighter.
Yeah, all these different superhero couples you have, but Clark and Diana are scary
But
only because,
if it's scary, maybe you should get better priorities, or actually read a freaking comic book that doesn't have the words injustice on it. Because here's Hawkman and Hawkgirl. That brings up an excellent point. Hawkman and Hawkgirl. But here's the other thing. It's like, all right, read a book other than Injustice. I know you won't, but try it. It's actually pretty fun to actually read comics. And the thing is, it's like, again, it just contributes to. But I mean, here's the thing: technically, Diana is a human woman. She's from
Right.
Earth,
Yeah.
but again, she's like, but she has powers, or she's like made of clay, or she's like the daughter of a god. Doesn't matter. Doesn't
She's
matter.
still very much an Earth woman.
She's an Earth
And
woman.
the thing is, like you said, they don't read comics because if you were to read Superman and Wonder Woman, Clark and Diana made the, you know, silently or together, um, out loud that the world comes first. But yet, with Superman in main continuity or Elseworlds, or even in this show or in the movies, you see him turning evil. You see him giving up his powers. Even Wonder Woman with 1984, you see that their issues of being human, relies on in a very problematic way of Lois and Steve and how that
And
actually,
Bianca, yeah, she is. She is. They still have, at least according to the most recent issue of Tom King's Wonder Woman, she still she references being the child of a god. Still cringe, but yeah, still
yeah.
there.
Um, and with Krypton, you know, that whole storyline of Jor-El being like he his design is all right, but he
Oh,
does look like a dictator.
there you go.
And
And yeah, this was the part where the show lost me. When they start referring to the Kryptonians as an empire, I'm like, as soon as I heard the words empire, Brit, I was like, oh no.
yes,
Because I knew exactly because you don't say empire for a benevolent force. No, they basically turned them into the Galactic Empire from Star Wars. So
yeah,
I was like, what the hell is that? Because
yeah,
you could say it was Brainiac's interpretation because they were in the simulation, but Brainiac refers to them as the Empire and says the Empire conquered planets. So I'm like, what is? I know why. This is a rhetorical question. What is DC's big issue with trying to make Krypton evil?
it is because again it goes back to the 1986 reboot that
Very
Krypton.
xenophobic.
Yes, very xenophobic. It's that Krypton is bad, being alien is bad, but Superman's entire life and who he is, just being human means being American. In a
Well,
sense
yeah,
of DC.
And Cameron brings up a good point. It would make sense if Zod was the head, and not it being their entire culture. Yeah, if they said General Zod was leading the entire planet, that would make sense. But they never say that. They
No,
literally never say. And Darius brings up a good point. Kryptonians are not Viltrumites or Saiyans. But good luck explaining that to modern writers. Thanks for nothing, John Byrne. There's a lot of things that we can thank John Byrne for. And
right.
making the Kryptonians evil is a slap in the face to Siegel and Schuster. But do you really think these creatives really care? Because from what it seems, they think Superman was invented in 1985.
Yeah. And just that whole thing, that whole simulation thing of Lois supposedly to go get him back from.
And that's where this image is from. She gets powers like him.
Yeah, and it okay, what I don't get is that if Superman is supposed to be so normal, why is it that they give Lois powers? And how does that make her a better like hero? Or why does she has the L crest on if having powers is bad and you're supposed to be normal? You know,
And then people are all of a sudden like, I can't wait to see them bang. And I'm like, now it's okay.
right. But this to show that she didn't accept um Clark or Cal. She said that she loved Clark Kent. It's not that she loved Cal as well. It's not learning of his heritage and embracing it and showing it that it was actually good. It's actually um I believe the actress actually said it, that Lois goes to save Clark from like this other planet. It's like this other planet is his home. It's not just a random planet where it is evil. This was his home. This was, his birthright in a sense. But
Ah, it's a good pun.
but with turning it into something evil, and you would say that, okay, so you're taking him away from this evil place, and only Earth and only her matters, and he is only Clark Kent. The producer says that Clark Kent is real, Superman is the mask, and for the life of me, I cannot wrap my head around that
Then she
idea.
shouldn't be working on Superman. I'm sorry. Because here's the thing, and Britt, you know, you and I were talking about DC sales, and you mentioned about how Joshua Williamson's Superman is actually selling pretty well, or it's a big hit. You know why? Because Williamson actually takes it upon himself to respect all parts of Superman. Even Philip Kennedy Johnson, the Warworld saga did that. That's why I loved the Warworld saga so much, and why I gravitate away from like Tomasi and Jurgens and all that stuff, because I like the writers that find the balance between the two. We're not saying you have to go fully Kryptonian, because they've done that too, and it's been equally bad. But you have to embrace both, because Clark is both. He is both Superman and Clark Kent. That's why him being with Wonder Woman works, because Wonder Woman literally tells him, I don't care if you're Superman or Clark, you're still the man I love. That's it. That's all it is. She calls him Cal because it's a pet name, but ultimately Diana says, no, be whoever you are, be your true self.
Right. And what the writers want to make it seem like she is in the wrong for even calling him by his birth name. I mean, there are so many people that have different names. You know, um, you have a first name, you have a middle name, even some people call you by your last name, you have nicknames and stuff like that. It's just a name. But who you are as a person, though, I just, like I said, I can't wrap my head around the fact of the producer saying that Superman is fake. I don't get that, because his powers aren't fake. He, he doesn't actually have to put
Oh
on
yeah.
glasses though. He
And
doesn't.
Britt, did you remember that Laura is also one of the evil Kryptonians?
Yes, to
Yeah.
turn Laura evil after. Okay, so the story of Krypton is that, or Cal's birth before, I believe it was before uh, Burn in pre-crisis,
Mm-hmm.
was he was the first like natural born
Mm-hmm.
Kryptonian.
And they adapted that in Steel the movie.
So it's kind of like with her, she wanted. Laura is very much a mother's story, and it's kind of like even Hippolyta, with Diana. These strong women. Um, Laura being in the military or a scientist as well, being equal to Jor-El, she wanted a child, and they were able to naturally conceive a child. 1,000 years of Krypton being like this desolate, or this just this machine of a planet, but the elves were the ones that were trying to be more cultured and to preserve the actual goodness of Krypton. And to turn them evil, yeah, that's going too far. And I don't
Yeah.
appreciate that at all, because it
As
feels
soon as
like,
I saw Jor, it would be one thing if Jor-El and Lara were not part of this, but they were like prisoners, or maybe they didn't know. But when they are the ones leading the army that's conquering, I'm like, nope, I'm done. I wash my hands of this show.
yeah. And also just the whole thing with what being normal means, what humanity means. Um, we in reality we have wars. You know, look at the craziness that's happening right now with uh, Brazil
Hmm.
Brazilians being banned from Twitter. That we are, you know, calling for a ceasefire. That there are people who are continuing to be murderers, to be to steal things, to be so, in a sense, evil, to hurt children in reality. So, what makes a human better than anyone else if we have the problems that we have now? You know, and so, and also, my normal is different from your normal. You know,
Hmm.
what we do every day is very different. So, to emphasize on normalcy and to emphasize on humans and human superiority is very wrong. It's the wrong message. And also humanity, because having humanity is not being an American, you know, because like I said, we going through a whole lot of stuff in America right now.
Ignoring America's issues, America ain't the only country on Earth.
Exactly. And that is what DC they emphasize on it. That's what they act like. That America is the end all be all, the best ever. And Superman is this poster boy for that. And that's what Rebirth was. It was very much just trying to make it seem like America is great, and if you are from another country, then you suck. That's basically what they were saying, and it was awful. I could not stand that Superman. And with it, also with the issues that were the political issues that were that was going on at that time too, you know. Um and the writers then really did show how just uncultured they were. And if you were different, if you had like this different mindset, like we were as New 52 fans, then we didn't belong. And that really felt
Hmm.
like you were saying that, again, if you are different, if you are an immigrant, if you are of a different culture, you don't belong.
I
What
believe there's a
kind of
word for
message?
that.
Racist and xenophobic.
Yes, there you go.
Um,
It's actually two words. So great. You one up me. Great job.
yeah,
So now what Britt and I are going to do, but buddy, so for the rest of this episode, what Britt and I are going to do, we're going to talk about how we would do a Superman animated series because we're about done with this travesty. And then we'll do a Q&A where you guys can ask us questions about this or really anything. So let's do this. So starting out by, you can thank the Donner films for some of that. If Superman, it made Superman into an all-American poster boy. Yeah, exactly. Wait, and Cameron says to add on Brit, if Superman is anything but like the all-American boy, he's out of character. I know.
yeah,
So so first, the ideal starting point. Yes, yes, thank you. New 52 Action Comics. Yes, thank you. Because that that basically in a whole encapsulates the basic idea of who Superman is. It's modern golden age, as we've said before, and it's Superman just doing basically what he was doing in the golden age before he became like this big dude.
yeah. I mean, Superman is supposed to be this. He is supposed to be an everyday hero, to be an inspiration. He's the champion of the oppressed, to protect the little people, and for you to. It is also an immigrant story. So for you, or refugee, you know, for you to take that whole thing away, it just missed the whole point of Superman. So what we want though, and especially again with so many people in the world right now, you know, embracing uh, their own ancestry, really embracing diversity and wanting something just just to celebrate cultures. That is something that Superman with Wonder Woman, you know, how she is of embracing the mascara. That is what we want. That is the purpose of these characters. So with the basis of Action Comics, a Grant Morrison Action Comic, it's also, yeah, I don't really care, but challenging the US government, you know, challenging these crooked businesses, um, and again, giving back to the community. We need to see Superman do that. We don't need to see him um,
There you cat out of a
standing.
tree.
Yeah, we don't. Well, that's a little cute, but it's not necessary.
Ultimately, what it represents is why I say that. But Atchison brings up a good point. We can't have Golden Age Superman anymore because he's considered edgy and not Superman. Yeah, I know. Isn't that funny how
That is
Golden Age
crazy.
Superman is considered not Superman?
Right. The OG Superman is not Superman. That is uh, very backwards. Um,
And then we have the Legion.
I would say this because I don't like it. Again, I want Clark to embrace his culture and know of himself early on. So if you want don't start it when he's 18. And that's what Byrne did. He had Clark develop his powers or know of himself as not being from Earth or whatever when he's 18. I really don't like that. I feel like as a child develops and you go through puberty and all that kind of stuff, you are to know who you are at a very early age, no more than 5 or so. So I would say that with Clark becoming Superboy and traveling, time traveling, everything like that, he is already starting his journey as Superman. So that is something that is actually unique to have within this timeline.
Yep, exactly. So then we get to Birthright. Thank you for suggesting this. One of my favorite parts of Birthright is actually at the end, and they like basically play into this that like Lex invents a machine that lets you talk to Krypton the past, and the past is as Krypton's exploding. So Clark is able to tell his parents, "I made it."
Yeah, that is pretty much the fact that Clark is more. I like the freelance journalism aspect, and I like the fact again it's embracing culture, and exploring what it means of um in a sense appropriating too, and also how he would deal with if he is to be Superman, and how um I think New 52 brought this up. I don't know if Post Crisis did, but it was in New 52 Justice League when Clark and Diana goes to one of the foreign countries that I guess the
Oh,
US is not to kind of intervene, but they want to anyway. And Diana says, you know, we are saving like women and children. We are giving them, food and water. What's the problem with that? So it's kind of like to learn a little bit of, okay, we are global heroes, but what is it that we can and cannot do? Like how far can we step to help? You know, things like that. That is something else that needs to be explored with Superman.
yeah, and actually, the through line of this book, according to the hardcover, is "Who am I and why am I here?" Yep, that works perfectly.
Yeah. So, and we have not brought in Lois yet because he is learning himself of who he is without needing to, um, again, compromise himself or e- even with this secret identity. Again, you can have it where he is trying to protect people, but it's not where he's in a relationship and he feels like he has to keep on putting on this act. And that is how he was with Lois until they got engaged. I mean, that does not make sense that you have this full relationship and to where you're saying the I love yous and but you're living this double life and lying constantly to this person. And also it doesn't make sense for Lois, you know, in the Death of Superman animated movie, how she didn't believe him when he took off his glasses. So you're telling me that she'd never seen him with his glasses off or
Oh
anything like that?
yeah. Well, despite despite the fact that it's not like he did like a Superman feat, like he heated up her coffee with his heat vision. That would be one thing, but no, he just go, "Hey, Britt, I'm Superman."
Right.
That's literally what he did,
Yeah.
and
And
I'm like,
it
what a lazy way to do it.
yeah, it wasn't emotionally charged at all. It was just him finally telling her who he was. But again, if you've been in this relationship and also within the first part of the movie to say that Lois knows him more than anyone, how exactly does she know him when he's literally like lying to her and keeping a big part of who he is? So how does she actually know who he is?
If
And
anything,
the only
Diana knows more about who he is.
right, but Diana is wrong and was painted wrong, and why they broke up was because she wanted him to be more truthful. So it's kind of like, so basically, for her to, Diana wants you to be more truthful and to embrace yourself, but she's painted as the one in the wrong, the bad guy. And Lois is, she is the plot device basically, and the one that will, let you continue on with the mental gymnastics, with the conflict of interest, with the unethical practices, and you're okay with that, because you're basically passing. And that's another thing that needs to be explored with Superman, is how easy it's kind of like putting out that message that if you continue to lie and be sort of deceitful to people, that you can have a pass. And that is something that, how he who not shall not be named did with his version of the identity reveal when there was no consequences. That was very much a cop out to me.
Well, his middle name is Cop Out, so there is that. So then we get to this one I didn't expect. So War World Saga. Explain.
Okay, so again, you're going with the theme of the champion of the oppressed, how he liberates an entire planet. He it goes still back to the point of how far can you go with helping and intervening. Well, this is an entire planet that actually need that intervention and to be set free. And it also dives into the Moses allegory of Superman. He is Moses, in a sense, and is let my people. Well, in the animated print Prince of Egypt movie, and with that he says, "Let my people go." So everyone that's oppressed is a person of Superman. You know, so
And
with
by the way, real quick, meme zero. Watch Justice League versus Teen Titans. After that, it goes downhill.
exactly it
I'm
does.
sorry. Go ahead, Brett.
So again, it just goes within the theme of the champion of the oppressed, helping the people, setting them free. And Diana, really, if you want to have the Justice League cameo, a glorified cameo, or to be part of the supporting cast and some of the episodes or some type of big event, this is the storyline that they um should be in, especially Diana, because that is part of who she is as well.
Yeah.
Helping to liberate people, helping to set people free.
Plus,
Um,
I gotta say, the idea of Clark and Diana, and maybe we don't go with the regular Justice League. We like have Clark, Diana, Aquaman, Mirror, and then maybe the Hawks because all the warriors going to War World to like wreck stuff.
Exactly. Something like that. I mean, that is a very good
That could be a
storyline of its own.
season in and of itself.
Right. And just that of Clark and again, you're still showing that sci-fi, and he's not stuck in Metropolis. He's not stuck on Earth. He is a not only a global hero, but also a universal hero.
Yeah, exactly. But it should have been Justice League going with him, other than the Authority. But I understand that they couldn't do that because He Who Must Not Be Named was writing Justice League at the time. So
Yeah.
then we get to when you put this in the recommendations. I knew you were gonna find a way to put this in here somehow. The Charles Soule book.
Yes. So what this throughout the show, our hypothetical show, it would be, like I said, the Justice League having cameos, or a mention. We can have where in the background, you know, Clark and Diana are developing their friendship. I would much rather, because it is a series, that it just doesn't move too fast.
Mm-hmm.
So they can develop that friendship that we really need to see. Because I feel like even with the Power Couple book, we could have we should have gotten like some flashbacks of them to fill in the blanks that we missed with their 5-year time skip.
Yeah, true.
Um
And by the way, Brown, we are discussing My Adventures with Superman and how Britt and I would do a Superman animated series. So anyway, so go on, Britt.
and I also adding in a little bit of Perez too, how
Mm-hmm.
they had a crush on each other, the flirtation, the excitement
See,
of
this is what you put some anime like blushes.
right, and not every other sentence that they say you blush out of nowhere. Um um you have them, like I said, just developing that friendship first, and to getting to know each other, getting to trust each other. Um And yeah, you can play on the fact of there is the tabloid type relationship where they are putting them out there as a power couple, but we know from the actual, behind the scenes uh, development that they are just friends with an obvious um, attraction. And with Power Couple, it is going through still the exploration of them getting to know each other and knowing themselves, trusting each other. And it's not necessarily where they just come together as a couple, but you just know that they are getting a little bit closer.
Maybe at the end of like this arc, we actually do the Justice League 12 scene.
Right, right.
And what now? Question is, would you do the super doomed villain for this arc, or would you do Zod and Feora?
I would do Zod and Pharaoh because, it, I mean, Super Doom is the whole Doomsday thing has soured any type
Oh
of
yeah,
Doomsday
and
reference.
also I don't want to give Dan Jurgens any more clout than he already has.
Right. So I would rather do, I mean, honestly, you could have like Zod Pharaoh, but you can also have a Wonder Woman villain, like um
Zod, Feora, and Apollo.
yeah, or
Because I'm sorry, if we're
Firstborn.
adapting this book, we're doing that scene when Superman humbles the god of the sun.
Right. You can even have Firstborn, or I don't know, a Wonder Woman villain that is that big bulky monster type. But I mean, even create
Maybe
a different type.
Ares?
Well, a little bit, but I would say create. This is where the creative, start.
Oh,
Of
and by the way, Cameron, it was Feora. I just checked in the book because Cameron was asking me if it was Ursa. No, it was Feora.
Yeah. Um, like I said, this is where the creative juices kind of start to flow and create a new um villain
Here we
that
go.
can
All right,
that
so
can
let's see.
basically challenge them both.
Well, what you could do is I happen to have a Wonder Woman book right with me that's in this time period. So let's see. We could do any of the gods, but I kind of feel that that's like, oh, I have an idea. All right, we could do firstborn, or now picture this. If you want to do it, let's say we don't do Zod and Feora. Hear me out on this.
Hmm.
We do Ultraman and Superwoman.
Oh yeah, that works too.
Because that way we can have them see, yeah, this is who we could make it like an arc where we're like they're concerned that they're not doing enough for their world or something like that. Then they see the mirror image of who they are in the multiverse, and they're like, no, we're doing pretty well if we don't end up like those people.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then as they send it back, as they like fight them and like send them back to the portal, Clark can go, oh, don't get concerned about any injustices.
Yeah.
So I
With
would be making injustice puns and digs all throughout that. Or I have always Parasite meets Noah Mazo, which sucks. Yeah, exactly. Heck, have Aphrodite be a shipper on deck for Superman and Wonder Woman while at the same, yeah, that actually works, as a matter of fact, while at the same time flirting with Clark. That is so something Aphrodite would do. That is so something. Britt, is that something Aphrodite would do?
yes, yes. I
Oh my
honestly, that is
gosh,
so
yes.
good.
Oh, by
Yeah.
the way, Britt, we need to use that.
Yes. Oh, we definitely
Wow.
are.
That
Thank
actually is a
you.
fantastic.
Thank
That's a
you for that
fantastic
idea.
idea, Meme Zero.
Yeah. Thank you for that idea.
Wow, that is actually really good. Make the U.S. government the enemy. But here's the
That
thing:
works too.
Is DC that brave to do that?
No, they are not. First of all, DC would have the US government pretty much against Wonder
Ooh,
Woman before Superman.
I got it. I got it. You do the the antagonist of this arc. Remember the Justice League of America from the New 52?
Yes.
Bingo. It's the
Yeah.
League intended to counter the Justice League. And then we'll say, here's what we do. Here's the story. Are you ready? Remember, there was an incident in New 52 Justice League where they intervene in a hostage crisis. And they like basically they save the people, but they cause a diplomatic incident. This inspires the government to create the JLA because they're concerned that the regular Justice League is gonna overstep and then become like dictators. So they create the anti-Justice League Justice League and send them against the Justice League and say, okay, now it's time to check these people with power.
Wow. Yes. That is perfect.
There you go.
Yes.
And then the next arc is it here. Here's the next arc. You ready? Because this one maybe puts a little doubt in Superman and Wonder Woman about, are we becoming dictators? Then Ultraman and Superwoman appear.
Perfect.
There you go. I got it.
Yes.
There you go. But DC forgot Maxima even exists. Yeah, that's true. Writer Wentworth 360 was the one who came up with that concept. Yep, that's a good one. Oh yeah, I know that story. I'd have an arc where Maxima kidnaps Clark to be her mate and have Diana come and rescue him. That would be hilarious. But can you imagine a pissed off Diana against Maxima?
Yes. A Maxima and like Wonder Woman thing would be it would also
Your
kind of
boy has an idea, Britt.
of course you do. Uh, it would honestly explore the whole thing of course Twitter, some of the fans saying that if you like Superman and Wonder Woman, you should ship Clark with Maxima, because the whole eugenics thing, but it's like Diana has nothing to do with that. She doesn't want super babies or anything like that, like Maxima. So you're basically exploring and debunking that whole thing with the storyline of having Maxima versus Diana.
Yes, and you may be wondering, how would we conclude this series finale? That well, a kingdom would come, a kingdom would arrive.
Yeah, and with this, okay, so if we were to have like Clark and Diana still in that sort of will they, won't they are together, but it isn't quite um, official in a sense. Um, you don't have to have Lois die in this. That is the one thing that I just want to avoid. But Clark can have different relationships, and especially with Diana. And it is kind of just debunking a lot of the misconstrued takes on Superman. So you can have the kingdom come of a storyline of, again, the US government against them, of the Justice League and Superman, but also they are for, you know, these anti-heroes are coming up. You know, and the people are for the anti-heroes because they feel like now that the Justice League, you can tie that pretty much in with the JLA that you mentioned earlier,
Mm-hmm.
that because they are basically having the Justice League on a leash in a sense, the anti-heroes are rising up, and they're the ones that the people are feeling like are protecting them more or able to do what the Justice League can't do. And also with that, you have where Superman, you can have it depowered, kind of. He does get depowered at some point, but he continues on to be Superman. Um, the Wrath of Gog, where I believe, yeah, the he was kind of hurt or depowered or something like that. Then a whole bunch of villains start coming after him. He continues to fight on though, but Diana is right there with him um, as he's getting patched up. Then you have Connor ask her, um, does she love him?
Oh, I know what you're homaging there.
Yeah. So you have that, and that is when they kind of like really cement their relationship, and you still have a Kingdom Come storyline of going against, heroes versus heroes or anti heroes and all of that. Even Clark and Diana still have their conflict of the extremes that they would take of, just how to bring everyone together. But I wouldn't the other thing that I would change is that there's no mass death of the heroes though. That I
Yeah,
don't think that they have to be that old, but so it can be a civil war. Yeah, they get hurt, injured, and everything like that, but it's not a mass
maybe a few
death.
of them get depowered.
Yeah, they either get depowered, maybe someone does sacrifice themselves, but it's not just like the massacre.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's still very much true to Kingdom Come. Then the ending of the series finale is the JSA issue with Alex Ross when he shows the 1,000 year ending of Clark and Diana finally settling down, having their first kid. You have Bruce as the godfather. They have their other kids. They get older and older, and then 1,000 years, you see older Superman, us looking up above with the Legion flying, and his descendants. Well, his and Diana's descendants.
That works. I like that. So that's how we would do a Superman animated series. Now, for the rest of the show, you guys get to ask us questions. So
Yes.
ask to your heart's content.
Oh, one other thing is that for animation, like the actual,
Oh,
I
yeah.
would say for some reason, I love the Blood of Zeus animation,
Yeah,
so
I
that
figured you were
would
gonna
be
say that.
pretty much perfect.
Yeah, that actually works really well because the DC characters are gods, so that does actually work.
Yeah.
As much as I want Super Wonder versus the U.S. government, DC would never do it because Twitter would have a fit of it being woke. That is true.
The thing is, Superman and Wonder Woman are supposed to go against the government. Like
Yeah,
they,
that's kind of what Superman was doing in the Golden Age.
yeah. So if Twitter has an issue, that's them. I mean, that is why they basically killed off New 52 Superman because when he punched it wasn't an actual cop. It was one of those I don't know if he was like a shadow demon or whatever that was disguised as an officer, but he punched him.
Hmm.
And it pretty much went all over the news. I think Fox News reported it. And so
Hmm.
it was a whole political thing. And I guess DC basically cowered out. And yeah, so it was a lot of things that went into why New 52 Superman was killed off. It wasn't just because of the relationship with Diana. It wasn't just, that whole he's not the real Superman. He had like this attitude. No, his attitude was still from the Golden Age. His relationship with Diana was very much still within the history of the character. And but it's the fact that he wasn't the post-crisis American poster boy,
Yeah.
though.
QT says storyline where Superman and Wonder Woman fight against Hercules. That is excellent.
Yeah.
Atchison asks, Britt, what's your most underrated Superman story? For me, it's Doomed. I like it more than the OG Death of Superman. First off, Atchison, me too. But Britt, what is your underrated Superman story?
Oh gosh. Let's see. Honestly,
Yeah.
I would say Doomed. I would say that
Mm-hmm.
too because I I don't care for Doomsday in a sense of the punching. The fact that they turned him more into a virus
That
and
is
it
cool.
it was more of like a mental challenge for Clark and going into his psyche and having like Doomsday be this mental battle monster in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is something
Mhm.
that is something that I believe that works far better than just a empty-headed troll monster or whatever that you have to punch.
Yeah. For me, honestly, for me, it's Our Worlds at War. I don't know if that's like underrated or like not talked about enough because Our Worlds at War is one of those stories where it showcases Superman's leadership ability, but it also showcases like also it's got the Super Wonder moments about how he like carries Diana's corpse to the ship to get her healing as Lois is nagging in his ear. I love that he just ignores Lois because like, no, I have to get Diana out of here. And I'm like, no, that is superb writing.
Right.
And
I
it
don't
also
know.
proves that Lois is annoying.
Right. I don't know if that's an underrated story because it is like sometimes talked about. So yeah, that is
It's not enough. Let me put it to
yeah,
that way for what that story is. I don't think it's enough.
right.
Brown says, here's a cool idea for an animated series. Ares undoes the magic of Themyscira Island, and now it's visible to outsiders. So the Amazons are forced to live amongst humans. And Clark, as Diana's an 18-year-old going to the same college as Clark. Hmm.
That is a very good Elseworlds to
Mhm.
have like if Diana, comes to the outside world 18 and she does. She goes to college, meets Julia, and that is who basically teaches her English and everything. So that is a very nice Elseworlds that should be as a YA graphic novel, really.
That could work really well. Cameron says funny how DC would go back to pre-crisis Batman, but but are scared of going back to pre-crisis Superman. Yeah. Cameron also says, would Lex Luthor be in your series, or would you guys not use him as he has the same issue of the Joker being overused?
He would not be used because, yeah, it's over. He would be in the series as kind of like a minor villain or so, like a minor antagonist.
He
But
sponsors the JLA.
oh Jesus, yeah, he would be something like that. But it wouldn't be where he has a full like arc, I would
Mhm.
say. Because yeah, it's overdone. You need something that's unique and different for Superman. And I feel like if you continue on repeating the same storylines, repeating, the same characters, you already know or can predict the ending, you know.
Exactly. Exactly. And then QT Comics said, Kingdom Come, John Kent meets Maine, John Kent, and body slams him. Atchison
Exactly.
says, the idea of the world being afraid of Superman and Wonder Woman being in a relationship is dumb, given how in the pre-Flashpoint timeline and pre-crisis, the world thought Superman and Wonder Woman were a couple. Even in post-crisis, they thought they were a couple.
Yeah, there's a lot of um, references that there was a JSA issue where Stargirl, she thinks that Clark and Diana are together. She says that they are basically the tabloid couple. That was a storyline of people taking pictures of Clark and Diana um, every time they see them together. Even Jimmy thought that they were married before he knew, uh, he doesn't even, Jimmy actually doesn't even know Clark's secret identity anymore. So within post crisis, he thought that Superman was married to Wonder Woman. So yeah, for them, that is the whole revisionist thing of the fans of now, especially Chloe's fans. But in within pre-crisis and post-crisis, yes, that was a thing where Clark and Diana was the like tabloid couple of everyone thinking that they were already a couple.
So, Britt, I wanted to tell you this. I'm going to say this on stream. So, I picked up a Superman comic when I was at my LCS, and I just picked it up because Wonder Woman was on the cover. It's the Superman 80-page giant from June of 1999.
Oh
I
gosh.
didn't. I forgot that this had. I forgot that this was the story it has in there. So it has a bunch of different stories in here. Apparently, from like all these, from this occasion when someone impersonated Superman and tried to like take over. But I'm flipping through it, and I'm like, these panels are looking oddly familiar. It's the story where Wonder Woman talks about how we had that dream in Wonder Woman 141. We fell in love. We got married. It's basically them implying that
I
like we have this relationship. See right there.
Yeah, I can't stand that story. And I want to ignore it because again, the revisionism of it is that yes, they did have that same dream. And if it wasn't for them to have it together, Clark wouldn't have had that dream with her. Um, and even within the story of 141, he says that part of him wants it to be real, but in reality, it's not real. They could have kept it at that, but they wanted to go further into basically a lot of the stories that Post Crisis had was they wanted to play with the relationship idea, but then other writers would come in and like, no, he has to be solely focused on Lois. And
God damn it, Britt. You can't ever let me have something, do you?
I'm sorry, I have to let you know this.
Yeah, I
So
know.
So with this is that they go into the Wonder Dome and Diana basically wants to know his inner thoughts and feelings. And Lois comes up. And it's kind of like, no, that pretty much was like I said, the whole revisionist thing of he had just said that he wants to still be in Diana's life. And she's like, no, I want to distance myself from you, but you want to still basically have your cake and eat it too. And post crisis Clark was very selfish. And in a sense of he had these feelings for Diana, and very wishy-washy too, was he would show his feelings, or written as showing his feelings, and then they would be um writers would make it seem like it's only Diana that has the feelings. So this is one of those that Clark goes to Diana, basically forces himself to to uh to be in her presence. But yet at the end, it's still that he breaks her heart because he supposedly only loves Lois. And that whole thing I just don't agree with. And yeah, that's why I don't like the story.
And by the
Um,
way, so Brown brings up, how would you guys like the idea of Smallville Superman giving away his powers and now living as a human family man in Arrowverse?
can't stand it because again, you are taking away who he is as a Kryptonian. I mean, they live under they you are still a Kryptonian. I can't change the color of my skin, I can't just so easily do anything like that of who I am. I That's who I am. So again, to send that message out that he um just so casually decides to give up his powers to live an ordinary life that he isn't really supposed to have, you know, that
Yeah.
is just the wrong message.
And by Atchison brings up, he's been rereading Aquaman New 52 in the Rebirth run, one of the only good Rebirth books. After watching your video breakdown of their relationship and rereading it, they really are the underwater versions of Superman and Wonder Woman. Yeah, they are. It's really
Yeah,
hilarious when you see it. And Barry Allen, Barry. So I've had Hal Jordan, Bruce Wayne. Now I've had Barry Allen. Okay, but oh yeah, that made no sense. Every time the natural thing happens of these two having feelings for each other, they have to make Clark and Diana say stuff that makes no sense. I know, Barry. I know.
yeah. That is just what they do because, uh, like I said, they were the tabloid couple of post-crisis at the beginning of um, the public thinking that they are already a couple, or the public thinking that yeah, they should be a couple. But then once the marriage happened with Superman, they cut all other relationship possibilities. Especially with Lena and Diana are the like biggest victims of that. Even Lena, she turned into more so like an, I would say, kind of like an obsessed ex that still had harbored lingering feelings for Clark, as the high school sweetheart and stuff like that. Um, Even though she was with Pete Ross and I think had a baby, uh, and then with Diana, Clark pursued her first, and then they turn around and make it seem like it was only Diana that cared for him, as you know. So yeah, it's all to prop up Lois, and I don't like it at all, as I continue to say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I still would not kill her off because, again, killing off a character is a cop out. If you can't find, you can always find something for them to do. Um, you can still have her as a journalist. She just isn't romantically involved with Clark. And again, if you want to show her as independent, or the female empowerment that they so claim, then that should be it. She doesn't have to be romantically involved with him. And you can have still respect for her character, whether she deserves it or not, and have the respect for the other relationship that's being developed.
And apparently, the Flash agrees with you when Barry Allen says what you just said is very true, even for Lois, in my opinion. If you make it seem like the only thing her character serves is being Clark's wife, you lessen her strong woman identity, and that's the other reason why I support Clark with Diana as opposed to Clark with Lois, because Lois ultimately is just going to be Clark's wife. No matter what they try and do with her, it always factors down to being Clark's wife. Wonder Woman is freaking Wonder Woman. She's a warrior. At times, she's the goddess of war. She's an ambassador for truth. She's a warrior for peace. And Tom King, that is not a contradiction. And she encourages everyone to be their full selves. There's so much that goes into Wonder Woman that just doesn't go into Lois. And I remember when Comic Historian came on my show, RIP, even he said the problem with Lois is that there's not much you can do with her because she doesn't really do anything, really. She's just there.
And that is why they are trying to give her powers now.
How much you want to? That's just going to be for an arc. I got news for you. That's not going to be the new status quo for Lois.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that her being the editor-in-chief, like, that should have been like the biggest goal. What was making Lois editor-in-chief, because she is this celebrity journalist, and being the best reporter of the Daily Planet. So that is, it's supposed to be the goal. But you didn't do anything with it. And the fact that you couldn't,
you just turned her into female Perry. Here's how I know that. She literally walks out and starts screaming to each other, screaming at people to get stories and stuff. She literally acts like Perry. By the way, Barry Allen also says the people excited for Lois to have powers are the same people that argue that Clark needs to be. Yeah, exactly, Barry. 110%. I got into it with someone on Twitter because this individual said, I can't wait to see them bang. And I'm like, weren't you the same guy that said that Clark and Diana banging together is eugenics and all that stuff? Are you the same people that like called it fanboy corn?
Right. Well, Dan Jardine did. So,
well,
yeah. Yes, they are the double standards, the hypocrisy, and all of that. Everything, honestly, everything that Lois fans want for Clark and Lois is pretty much what Clark and Diana have, and they want Lois to be Diana Light. They want her to be a Wonder Woman, So giving her powers, I mean, she's nothing but a redundant Superwoman, or gender bent Clark, or basically Kara Now with black hair or something like that. Is nothing really special to her having powers. And again, you are just having all these Kryptonians, or people with Superman powers. Metropolis and everywhere should be safe. Then, if you're handing out Superman powers to any and everybody.
And no, they're not going to get rid of John. Yeah, that's the thing. That was my problem when it comes to the Dawn of DC Superman. As much as I love that series, when you have 5 Kryptonians, or like Kryptonian adjacent characters, I start to doubt, why does anyone try to commit crimes in Metropolis? Why would you do that if there's this is the same reason why I hate that there's 5 Flashes, because then you can't justify why are there 5. Why does anyone commit crimes in these cities if there's 5 like God characters? It works for Batman because you could shoot the Bat family. You can't shoot the Flash, and you sure as hell can't shoot a Kryptonian.
Right. I mean, and then they're stuck in Metropolis. I mean,
that too.
They should be Superman in general, but all of the Kryptonians or whatever, they should be global heroes. And if they're not, they aren't doing their job as heroes. And it's the same thing with Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is supposed to be a global hero. She's supposed to be an ambassador. She is supposed to be, like you said, a warrior of peace. But yet we have not had her be that in a long while. She doesn't have a specific city, but at least as a representative of the mascara.
Occasionally it's Boston.
Yeah, but she is still not, stable for her. But even just for the mascara, I mean, DC recently has loved killing off the Amazons, for some reason.
Well, Tom King certainly enjoys that.
Right. It just feels like they're going after Themyscira as much as they are going after Krypton.
Oh,
And
they
that
definitely are. And again, Xena. That's
exactly.
that's what it is. So let's go through some more questions. So Barry Allen says, and if the only reason why she's so great for Clark is because she's human, what makes her better than Lana Lang? That's the other thing, Barry, that I always say. The problem with Lois is there is like 5 other people that could give. So all of the things that people say Lois gives Clark are already provided by other characters. And saying that Lois alone is his connection to humanity, that's a spit in the face of the contribution that Jonathan and Martha Kent made when they raised him from freaking birth.
Right.
And he
It's
also
not
says, Barry also says, Diana would fit in well in Metropolis, but they know exactly how that ends, and they'll never do it. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, Diana honestly can fit. That is another thing, with Clark being, if you want to have the farm boy thing, Diana fits perfectly within the Smallville, farm life because she is from an island, a tropical island, but she is still a girl of nature. She loves animals. She loves how the Amazons, they have technology, but they also are very much ingrained in agriculture. And again, Diana loves nature. She loves animals. So with her being in Smallville, on the Kent farm, she fits right in. She fits in within Clark's world just as he fits in with her world. And that's what we saw with Power Couple is that they have their differences, but they also have their similarities that can work well together. Diana doesn't have so much as weaknesses that can be put forth as Clark's um, weaknesses, but there's still a challenge for her, you know, and that makes sense. Lois does not present the challenge that Clark presents the challenge that Clark is supposed to have. You know, they think that with the whole gender reversal thing is just having Diana with a human that's weaker than her,
By the way,
or
and Barry brings up Lois makes him human. So what was he just wearing an alien? Was just an alien wearing a flannel until he met her? That's the other thing that people
right.
forget. He literally was Superman before he met Lois.
Yeah, he was super. That is why him being Superboy, in his early years makes more sense because again, he is embracing his powers early. So that argument is basically completely, debunked.
Mm-hmm. And let's see. Hey, what's up, Luffy? He goes, SuperWonder film would be more interesting. Yeah, it is. Brown asks, question, why aren't Poison Ivy keeping Swamp Thing company? They're made for each other. That's a good point, but Swamp, I'm not exactly sure. I have a volume of Swamp Thing comics. I haven't read it all the way through. I need to because I've heard it's good. Atchison says the problem is that DC will forever push Lois because, contrary to popular belief, writing Superman with a different love interest isn't easy, whereas writing Superman with Lois is. Actually, it is. Britt and I do it all the time.
Right. It's not the fact that I would say your comment is right because it's easy to have Superman as the hero, you know, as the that as much as they say that Lois saves Superman, she doesn't. He is to be the hero of, at the end of the day. He is supposed to save Lois. He is supposed to um, have this, that basically the challenge is not very challenging. With another hero that is supposed to be equal, you have to find um, a plot or, that can really challenge them both equally. And that was a problem that Tomasi had. And he admitted it. He said that with Diana, it's intimidating and it's difficult to write her as an equal.
And yet he's
And
fine. Wait, intimidating. He's written Batman and Superman.
but though they are basically like bros, so yeah, he can write that. But you're writing a woman that demands equal, respectable spotlight.
I mean, the book is
Um,
called Superman Wonder Woman, so I would hope so.
right. And he doesn't know how to write her as, and like he said, trying to keep her in the spotlight because he didn't want to write her. With Lois, you jumped the shark with her being in the Hellmat suit or having her fight the
That
Furies.
that
But at
BS.
the end, right, that shit, honey, I see. But at the end, but at the end, Superman was still the main hero, though. He is the
Yeah.
one that still saved everyone and was the big man of the house, the macho, the macho man or whatever. With Diana, you have to show her as Clark being vulnerable too. You have to show him as he's going to need, you know, he can't save the world by himself. And that was the thing that was challenging, which is, again, that is your problem with being creatively bankrupt.
Then don't agree to write the book. That's the other thing. Barry says it's actually very easy to write Super Wonder. But a best example being Stephen Peggy from the MCU. When there's chemistry, when the chemistry is natural, it flows. Half the time you can lift Lois from the story, and it's the same. Yeah, it's true. That's how
Exactly.
important Lois is to the story. She can be exacted from any story, and it stays the same. Barry Brown says. And Brown has an actual funny idea. What if Diana unknowingly buys an apartment in the same building as Clark Kent in Metropolis? That could be a plot point for an animated series on Super Wonder. Yes, that actually would be really funny. I would pay for that. But and Atchison says, what will never make sense to me is people say they love Aquaman and Mira, Barda, exactly what we were saying, but
Right.
Superman being with Wonder Woman is bad and boring. Or how about this? Hal Jordan and Carol Ferris.
But the thing is, they are okay with that because those relationships are within the same like mythos.
Mhm.
But Clark and Diana, they are separate, main characters, putting them together. And it's not
Mhm.
even boring because, again, watering Clark and Diana down, especially Clark, yeah, you do have a boring character. But if you actually explore the complexity of his character as being the Moses allegory, as being the champion of the oppressed, learning of his heritage, actually embracing Krypton and showing some of that history, um, showing him navigating through not being a liar, because honestly, that is what DC is doing. They are romanticizing Superman being a liar and the whole unethical thing, the conflict of interest with Lois. If you have him actually feel, which in New 52 he did, he felt very um, distraught in a sense about having to lie every day. And he wanted to change that eventually. If you have the character go through that, and then in addition to bringing in someone that actually understands exactly what he's going through, and she is the one that helps him embrace that side that he is somewhat afraid to show, then that is a much better, full round character and compelling story.
Yeah, exactly. And let's see, it's simple. It's not actually boring. They just have been told to not like it, and yet enjoy it everywhere else. Yes, exact. Mark and Eve, that's a good one. Mr. Incredible, Elastigirl, like exactly. All
Right.
those are superheroes with other people, and yes, they have been told to like that because again, comic book Twitter is the Superman. I'm going to say this. This is a preview for eventual battle of these sexes if we can ever get coordinated with Jib. It's that the Superman fandom is very culty. It's that if you don't believe that, if you don't think if you don't adhere to all these little principles, you are ostracized and you're like, you are a traitor. And I'm like, this isn't like a nation.
Right. Like the comment that I got the other day of um
Hmm.
the little, it was just one panel from World's Finest 30, of Diana saying that Clark is making her blush. And it really wasn't anything like spectacular. However, it did make um some of the Chloe's fans a little jumpy, I guess. And they wanted to be a little froggy. So one saying how it was Mark Wade being betraying them, the insolence or whatever, the blasphemy, and how they wouldn't stand for it, as and how like Wade and us as SuperWonder fans will, I guess, answer to them or whatever. Yeah, so it's very culty, very self-entitled. I don't know. You were just really blurring the lines of reality and fiction. I mean, it's not, they're fictional characters. We can like them and everything, but if you are making your life revolve around the characters and being so um I don't know, just being very weird about the characters, possessive in a sense. You need to go outside for a minute, and kind of like just breathe or something, or find a new hobby, because this obsession with relationships to an unhealthy degree it takes the fun away from being in the fandom.
Yeah, exactly. And let's see. It's a while ago. I've never met a hardcore Superman fan that doesn't like them, or hardcore Wonder Woman fan that dislikes them. It's the casuals who've been told they don't work arguing the most. Yeah, kind of. I've met a few that like are civil enough that they're like, okay, you know what, that's fine. You like it your way, I like it my way. Every time I've talked to a Wonder Woman fan who stands by Wonder Bat, it took me less than 30 minutes to turn them around. Or like this way: if they ship Wonder Bat, chances are that they're basing that off of just watching the Timverse. That's it.
Right.
That's it. Or the work of Greg Rucka.
I mean, but even Greg Rucka, for
or
him to,
or or Phil Jimenez, who says I like her with Batman because she should be with the bad boy.
yeah, Rucka is the same way. He thinks that Diana should be with the bad boy to rebel against Hippolyta like a teenage girl.
When has
You
what? You wonder why DC doesn't hire you anymore, brother.
know, yeah, I mean, to equate Diana basically being a teenage girl or rebelling against her mom as for for a man, first of all, that is very much going against Wonder Woman's entire purpose. She does not do anything against Hippolyta or against herself
She respects
for
her
a guy.
parents.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, let's see who else. Trinity issue. The Amazon saw Superman as Apollo, and Diana was very attracted to Clark. Yeah, exactly. Barry Allen says, actually, so Superman would benefit a lot from fans not swearing he beats everyone and admitting he has weakness and faults. Yeah, exactly. He must always be with Lois. He must always wear the trunks. He must always be smiling. He must always be a Metropolis. Must always be a Boy Scout. Otherwise, he's not Superman. Yeah, exactly. And Barry says the trunks are a product of the bygone era. Nice, but shouldn't ever wear them again. No normal person would anymore. Exactly. Did
Right.
someone say Bat Wonder? She's the She's the princess to his prince. All right, hang on. Oh wait, and Dupree's. Why would an Amazon date a bad boy? That's true. So by the way, because Britt, you said Wonder Bat, I have to play this. Why did you say that name? I have to.
Yeah, that just that whole thing. I mean, even on Twitter there was a they want engagement. So of course they are going to say how um or even the guy that's having the hot takes on TikTok. It's, you didn't have to bring up Superman and Wonder Woman's relationship. And then he wants to say, well, I like the new 52, but he has to say the but and the disclaimer of But any other iteration I hated, or I would hate the couple, or something like that. And so why bring it up? Because you want that engagement. That is actually how you feel, that it's okay to like the couple. No one has the right to dictate what you can and cannot like. You know, we have our disagreements as a fandom, we have our preferences. Some of us do voice our opinions on what we agree on and what we disagree on. We do find problems in some of the things that other people, like. However, you still be respectful unless you don't get the respect back. Now, if I'm disrespected, which we are as Superman and Wonder Woman
Hmm.
fans, we are going to come back at you. However, we have
Oh,
to also
yes.
deal with the fact of playing others playing victim,
Hmm.
hiding their hands. And that's the pet peeve that I have the most with these, you know, um, anti fans, is that they dish so much stuff out, but yet they can't take it. And it's like when we voice our opinions, when we make our stances, we are labeled as the bullies. And like that is just so unfair.
Yeah, exactly. Brown says, in the past decade, Vine made plenty of memes of Superman's trunks. So normies find the trunks to be ridiculous. I'll never forget this. So I was bored one day and I was scrolling through my Netflix, and there was this movie called We Can Be Heroes. It's basically a third movie in like the Shark Boy and Lava Girl like world. I was bored, so I was like, okay, you know what? I'll throw this on. There was a scene when this little girl says, I can't be a superhero. Superhero have to wear their underwear on the outside of their pants. At that moment, I was like, oh my God. Even the mainstream media considers it a joke. And yet they're putting it in. Current Superman is 50-50, especially in adaptations, because they keep trying to take the man away from the super and Peter Parker him. Superman has grit. When you take that away, you take away the man. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Exactly.
Speaking of it's kind of funny in their need to like make Superman like this all powerful, all knowing, never does anything wrong deity. They turn him even more into a god and less into a human. Isn't that funny?
Right. And being with Lois and how they emphasize on she makes him human, you are essentially just saying that he is a god that needs to be tamed. So how is that making him human? How, and the whole thing about being relatable, you know, just because he turns on a faucet in the kitchen, you know, that is how simple-minded some of the fans think that that's being relatable. I don't care about that. Being relatable, if you want him to be, which he's not really supposed to be, the fact of still his story as a refugee, as an orphan, as a kid trying to find his way, trying to find his purpose, trying to find who he is and his truth, and live amongst that, um, and blend in with the various or diverse cultures that we have of the world. But when you simplify that to just, like I said, if he doesn't want to fly, he wants to drive a car. I mean, okay, but that isn't very, it's just not entertaining, and this is supposed to be entertainment. It's not
Yeah.
living vicariously through this character. So, you know, even with being a dad for John, a lot of the Superman fans, post crisis Superman fans, as you know, more power to you. You can be, that age, middle age, but they wanted to hold on to Superman being a dad now. It's kind of like he's just like me. I'm a dad too, so I can show, um, I can be Superman, and I can see myself as Superman because he has a kid. No, because there's a new generation of fans that want to have a Superman, which we did have, New 52, to grow up with. And now we are stuck with a Superman with a kid that is basically, you know, 20 something now, and all of that parental development that they so claim they wanted was lost over again.
Yeah.
And, you know, where is that for now, the generation that doesn't have a Superman, that again, I don't really like the saying he relates to them. Oh, resonate. He more so resonates with. We don't have that anymore. We don't have a Superman, and we're trying to even push John as that. He wasn't, because he's, first of all, he's a nepo baby, and he he just doesn't stand for anything. He's a carbon copy of Clark. He's redoing some of the stories, the plot lines and everything, but watering down. He has a reporter boyfriend. You know, it,
Mm-hmm.
it it's not very unique. It's just Clark, but you have him as bisexual. But he's still a reporter. Even John, they want John to be a reporter, and Philip Johnson Kennedy said it's a family business. When you talk about eugenics and everything like that for Superman and Wonder Woman, that pretty much sounds like the eugenics that you claim Superman and Wonder Woman is. If you want to talk about journalism and being um, having Kryptonian powers, is a family business.
Yeah. By the way, Cameron wanted to ask us about My Adventure with Superman. Do you guys think that they made Superman villains tech based because, like Batman, they wanted his villains to have a gimmick? All the villains have a gimmick. Parasite, you can't touch him because he absorbs your power. You didn't need to make them tech based at all. Or if you felt that that was the only way to do it, then don't use those particular villains.
Right. But they are creatively bankrupt. They
Yeah,
want
there
to
you go.
have they want to have Superman villains, but yeah, change them to be. But they again, this whole My Adventures of Superman is a faux anime. They
Oh,
they did
anime.
get the crowd that they wanted with Twitter, but it's not necessarily that the show was a success, because on Adult Swim, like, the network isn't it's not that popular as it used to be, and the ratings for the midnight showing of My Adventures wasn't that good. So you have more so of the streaming ratings, which the streaming views. But as we see, WB and HBO Max, obviously that's not doing much, not moving the needle. So, with the success that they claim that they have, is very low bar. Even with the
Yeah.
first episode, the producer said that they got, uh, I think, 2 million views on YouTube. And it's like, okay, a TikTok, a 30-second TikTok video can get 2 million views. So that's not really a success.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, so continuing on, let me see here. Barry says Clark being human is fake as hell if you push the narrative that when Lois dies, he abandons everything he stands for. That's why Kingdom Come is so good. It shows Superman is Superman no matter what. Thank you. And
Yes.
Cameron says when someone says Lois makes Superman human, it's like, what about Smallville, Pa, or anything like that? Yeah, exactly. It flew over people's head that New 52 was supposed to be for a younger generation. Yeah, exactly. But again, a lot of DC fans are selfish. In the dating episode of Moz, am I the only one who watched it and thought Silver could have basically just been Diana with her personality and dynamic with Clark on screen? Yeah, she kind of could have when you think about it. Silver St. Cloud. And
Yeah.
she was even built like Diana. At least she didn't look like a little boy.
True. True.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, she was very built like Diana. So I was like, if they somehow make it so this is actually Wonder Woman, although she was kind of throwing herself at Clark, and Diana would not do that. Although it would be in keeping with the way this show handles characters, so it wouldn't surprise me. It would still piss me off. Brown says there are plenty of YouTube comedy sketches making fun of Superman's underwear over his tights, and it has a lot of views. Yeah, exactly. That too. For like 2 million views, so are some skits making fun of your show. So what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And
It's
2 million. Oh, wait. Here's the thing. I'm going to the DC YouTube page to say this. By the way, DC Comics. Yeah, I'm doing this for a very specific reason. So 2 million views on a channel that has 4.5 million views. That's easy to do. What are you talking about on YouTube? Okay, so I got 2 million views on the DC YouTube channel. That is 4 million. I'm sorry, that's not as impressive as you think it is.
Right. It's not. Um, like I said, a movie trailer can get 2 million views. A music video can get 2 million views. A I guess a 30-second video on TikTok of cats, you know, can get 2 million views. So it's really not that impressive. I would be impressed, I don't know, if it got 25 million views or something like that. But 2 million, that's nothing.
Yeah, exactly. When I was a kid, I didn't want Superman to be like me. I wanted to be like him. Cal is not meant to be grounded by us. He's meant to uplift us. There you go. Now
Exactly.
you get it. That's the
Yes.
thing. Superman is not supposed to be the character that's like us. It's not. But again, a lot of these people. See, here's the problem. A lot of these fans, and this is my theory, are really Marvel fans, because that whole thing about how they're relatable, that's Marvel's thing. And I think they were spoiled by the MCU. So they're like, oh, all the superheroes, we have to be able to relate to them and stuff.
Well, that is why John Byrne, why he was able to, have the reboot, because Marvel was basically, top dog still, and DC needed a reboot back then, and they wanted that Marvel crowd. So basically, they've been chasing the Marvel crowd for a long time, and it started with Superman. They wanted Superman to become Spider-Man. So for him to be the All-American football player in high school, for him to resent himself and be this uh, be born on American soil, to uh, to just want to be so stuck on being normal. And again,
Mm-hmm.
what defines being normal? I have no idea, because like I said, your normal is so much different from mine. Mine is different from anyone, that's watching. You know, we all have a different way of what is normal to us. So just that whole thing doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and
Um,
and, and Barry says, I'm black and grew up with a single mom, and yet I connect with Superman no problem. His life doesn't have to be yours to connect with him, and more people need to get that. Thank you. Are you talking about
Thank you.
Smallville? No, we're talking about my adventures with Superman. Smallville has its own problems, but it's still pretty much enjoyable. This show, My Adventure with Superman, is utter garbage. I'm just gonna say that right there. He's a small town kid, which is relatable to most people on Earth. Yeah, exactly. But there you go. Like I don't like Flash because he's relatable. I like Flash because of his stories. Yeah, exactly. Again, this gets back to my thing, and that's more like this way. Being relatable, that's what makes Marvel great and so on stuff. You see, here's the thing. There's a thing that goes around that says that like DC characters are gods that want to be men, and Marvel characters are men that want to be gods. That's not entirely accurate. The thing about Marvel versus DC, Marvel are the heroes that are like us. Why do you think most Marvel heroes are not like ridiculously overpowered like Superman or Wonder Woman or Green Lantern? They're just relative people that got like powers due to science. Where with DC, I always equated them more to the gods of Greek myth, because they are these beings that hang up on a watchtower that ironically looks like Olympus. So the way I saw it is that the Justice League was supposed to be like the examples that guide us to a better life. Hell, in the Snyderverse, they have Superman, his father Jor-El, say, "You will lead them into the sun, Cal."
right. It's a brighter future, a betterment, but yet people want to live in stagnation. They don't want anything better. They want things to be simplified, and to the point of where everyone is basically just a sheep. That's it.
Mhm. Would Ultron fit in DC? Um, I don't think so because you already have like Cyborg could take out Ultron like that. Ultron is basically a robot Brit that like tries to take over and stuff.
Yeah.
Barry Allen says some people, it's the same people who have these kind of complaints about Superman will say Thor's peak. Superman never went out of style. All Might proves that in spades. I mean, All Might proves that in spades. Okay, Cap 2. Yeah, exactly. The thing. Do you mean All Star? But yeah, the general idea is that the whole act that like Superman has to be brought down to earth to be relatable. That is why for the longest time Superman was not respected. I got news for you. All right, before I got into comics, before all this, I thought Superman was lame because, as an outsider perspective, not as lame as Lois, but we'll get into that. But with Superman, I thought he was like, oh, he's just a big blue Boy Scout that wears his underwear under his pants, over his pants. I like Batman more. Then, so the Snyder Cut gets announced, and I get back into comics, and I start reading them a lot, and then I'm like, oh my, and I see Man of Steel the movie, and I'm like, oh my god, this character is the greatest superhero of all time. I get it now. I get why people like him because he's not supposed to be like us. What Superman is, he's the ideal. He is what he. Let me put it this way. And actually, I'm gonna give props to one comic real quick. Hang on 1 second. So in Action Comics 1000, they have this scene here where it's essentially a Superman Day celebration. And ironically, this was written by Dan Jurgens. I believe it was. Hang on. The first issue was done by Dan Jurgens. So the issue is Superman is like fighting aliens, and he has to go to like essentially a Superman Day to celebrate the anniversary of Superman being revealed. So he flies off, and then Diana says, no, don't worry. We got this. Enjoy your day. We're your fans too, because without you, none of us would probably be here. And that's the thing that people miss about Superman. He's not supposed to be like down to earth relatable. You can make him relatable, obviously, but he's not, but that shouldn't be the goal. What Superman is, he is the ideal that shows superheroes this is what a superhero is. This is who we should be. That's who Superman is.
Right. And even with regular people, you are supposed to, again, just be the best of yourself, and to strive higher. It's not to compromise yourself or feel complacent or anything like that. It's not to hide who you are. Yes, he does hide out of fear and just wanting to protect people. But at the same time, as the story progresses, he's supposed to embrace all of who he is so that one day, maybe he would, you know, um, reveal his identity or something like that, or live in or not even say that he's Clark Kent. I don't know. He would just like let that identity go and just be Cal, and after a few hundred years or something like that.
Yeah.
But he is still who he is. He isn't defined by one love interest that because she dies or something, he can't go on. He can't um find happiness again, or he can't love again, or he can't be the hero that he is supposed to be. His The love that he is supposed to have, and it's the same type of love that Diana has. It's the love for the world. It's the love for every living being,
And that doesn't mean Diana wants to sleep with everyone. I know some people
yeah,
try and like misinterpret. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring it down, Britt, but I have to say that because
yeah,
some people misinterpret that.
yes. People very much misinterpret Diana's love, and that is totally different. That's a different type of love. She loves just life. I would say that
Yeah.
to be free, to be like a free bird, and to just have happiness. But I just find that so miserable, really, for you to have to continue with this mental gymnastics, and you have turned this character into a, he's not a good example of how you are supposed to be. Like,
Mhm.
to say that, oh, like I said, Clark Kent wears the glasses. He has to put on an exaggerated act. He has to wear the big clothes. He has to um, be secretive. You know, if that is, if Clark Kent is who you are, then you shouldn't have to do that. Then, you know, but with being Superman, this is who you are, with flying, with not wearing the glasses, with the confidence that you have, with the he purposely hunches over, you know, but actually his back is straight. You know, that kind of thing. How can Clark Kent be the real person when you have to do these certain things to be the Clark Kent that you're trying to be? But
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
being
Go ahead.
Cal and Superman, you are just the a natural person, you know. And
Exactly.
even the Clark Kent, they also want to make it even more complex of saying that that's Metropolis Clark Kent, and then there's Smallville Clark Kent. Even that, you know, yes, that is the real Clark Kent that grew up with the Kents, that still, he loved to fly. He loved to be in, you know, as adventurous as a kid. And that is why being Superboy at a younger age would make so much more sense. And I think that would have kind of blocked this whole thing where, with him being 18, that is when he finds out he's, you know, from a different planet, or embraces his powers a little bit more. Because honestly, I don't understand how you can have these powers at 10, 12, 13, and just think that, I mean, obviously the Kents don't have the same powers. So how would you not question that you're different, you know, and then
Exactly.
act surprised when you're 18?
I
You know,
know.
that it's just very much contrived storytelling, and just going overall with how um, My Adventures of Superman is very contrived. And they
Oh,
want
well,
to,
yeah, for sure.
yeah, they want to water down the character to make him this. The show was also for girls, you know,
Oh, yeah.
so yeah, so they feel like making him this, like I said, this tall, um, very soft boy type uh character, that, yeah, that will get that crowd, but at the same time you're watering down Superman as who he's supposed to be. He's an action hero. And for it to be saying that Superman is a love story, no, it's not a love story in a sense of, it's just about Clark being a golden retriever for Lois. It's,
Exactly.
if you
Now,
want it to be, uh-huh.
r- real quick, I want to add this, Barry. They recanonized it. Here's how I know that. So, this book, Wonder Woman: The Four Horsemen by Steve Orlando. This is a relatively recent run. In fact, it's from 2019. And if you turn to it, they reference Wonder Woman's romantic past, and she's making out, and she's basically kissing Superman. So they brought it back, even though Dan Jurgens probably was kicking and screaming the whole time. It's because, and that's the thing. It seems like the Superman editorial team doesn't like it, but the Wonder Woman editorial fan base is like, okay, fine.
The thing is, the Wonder Woman editorial is the Superman editorial too. So
And that's funny because I'm like, then how do you explain this?
yeah, I really feel like, I know that I, I believe it is split. Like, there's a head editor, and then there's like assistant editors. So
And there's a group
maybe,
editor.
yeah, the group editor. So I'm guessing within that whole, whoever's on the side of which is, that is who kind of it's basically a civil war within the Superman editorial.
Oh
But I
boy.
don't understand why having Wonder Woman in um within the Superman editorial. Why aren't there any crossovers like they used to have? Why are you continuing on to separate them? I mean, you have World's Finest, and that is Superman and Batman's, uh, relationship as brothers. But Superman and Wonder Woman, despite what Tomasi did with the book, and we don't reference it, it's still the fact that the book sold though, and um, it had an audience. The couple has an audience, regardless of the negativity and the unnecessary aggressive hate. You still have people talking about it, and you still have people curious, so they will buy the book. So I don't understand why continue on with trying to separate them when you have an audience still, whether they act like they're against it, but for sure there's people that's for it, and that is a guaranteed success. Why ignore it, and you can't at least publish an Elseworld with it?
Yeah, exactly. And Barry says, "How do you explain it? Simple. It makes all the sense in the world, but they can't remove Clark being married to Lois after all." Yeah, that is a good point. Question: How do you feel if Frank Miller did a Wonder Woman year one? Okay, here's my here. I have to say one thing. Based upon All-Star Batman and Robin, I'm not sure I want him to. Although it would be nice to see Wonder Woman. Although here's the thing. Here's the thing. He says it's like from Batman's perspective, and you know what? Based upon reading the way he writes Wonder Woman in like Master Race, I kind of believe him. So you know what? I would actually like that.
I would say that he would. He also wrote Diana in that little short time of Superman year one. I think he can get Diana. I think if he doesn't write it in the perspective of Batman, like how All Star and the entire, Dark Knight saga, but if
Mhm.
you do it in just that sense, but of course he will kind go within his Frank Millerisms, you know. But I think it wouldn't be that bad. I don't think so. It
Yeah,
would be over the
exactly.
top. It would
Mhm.
be over the top, but I
It
don't
would be
think it would
pretty
be that
dope.
bad.
It would be pretty dope. TJ says, do you think that they are forcing the Superman Lois? Yes, they are. They're 100% forcing it.
Yeah.
110%. Britt, do you know that Wonder Woman's secret identity once was a McDonald's style waitress?
Yes. Taco is.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, oh my god. How do you guys feel about Clark and Diana not working because they're like siblings? They're not.
I mean, that honestly, you can say that. I mean, Batman and Superman kind of, they switch costumes, and they also have been like swapping places, and didn't even know that Superman was pretending to be Batman, or Batman was kind of pretending to be Superman. They look like twins, or So how can you say that Clark and Diana are like siblings, look alike, whatever, when you have Batman, Wonder Bat fans wanting Diana with Bruce, and it's the same thing, or with how they are having Lois with powers being Superwoman, she just looked like a gender bent Clark. So
Mhm. That's
you
what we
know,
thought. We honestly thought it was gonna be like a future daughter coming back to like save the world or something like that. But and TJ Bat won a bat for the win. Oh god.
Batman doesn't do ships.
You know what's kind of funny? I meant to play the "Why did you say that name?" and I actually clipped that one. I clicked that one, but I'm like, you know what? That works too. There you go. But yeah, I hate the take that they're like siblings. Yeah, it is very cringe, and I'm like, then how do you explain like Superman and Lois, Batman and Catwoman?
yeah.
I
I
really
mean,
people who say Clark and Diana are like siblings either don't have siblings or are sus or are from Alabama.
exactly. Very much Alabama.
Because there's arguments against them somehow always devolve into them being too easy. But you know what's kind of funny? Whenever they say it's too easy, whenever they say it's too easy, I'm like, thank you for admitting it makes sense. Because when you're saying, oh yeah, it's too obvious or it's too easy, you're telling me they work. So there you go.
But then you say that Clark should be with Lois, and that is like the permanent thing. So isn't that even more obvious? Or they even expect like every show, every comic, every anything that Clark should end up with Lois. I mean, that is why they pretty much tripped out with Tomorrowverse, is seeing
Yeah.
that,
They called, they said he was an adulterous Kryptonian.
yeah, because I mean, the JSA version or Earth 2, Lois, even with that, she had to be mentioned even though she was dead. It was kind of like you could have gone without that scene because she is irrelevant. Earth 1, Superman and Lois, they didn't have a relationship developed at all. But at the end of Crisis, it felt like they had to be forced together. They had to be romantically linked, even though they didn't have the progression that Clark and Diana had. At least Earth 2, Clark and Diana, they met, they had their altercation or, whatever. It was still hinted of them, um, like, will eventually come together as whether they are a partnership, but you can tell that they have that sort of relationship development. And then we have World, where Diana, she was amnesic, and seeing the crest, she was able to remember just him. So you know that
Mm-hmm.
they had somewhat of a development. And then we have Crisis Part 1, where they have the kiss. Part 2, where um, Diana calls him my love. Then Part 3, where they have that scene of Diana, uh, the ending scene. You know, they
And
had,
when the ending scene happens, if you look to the side, it's an Easter egg that they didn't reveal, but I saw. You could see Britt crying in the corner.
hush.
You make it too easy.
Oh, yeah, yeah, true. But yeah, you had that, even though again we've gone through it, how cheap it was, how kind of rushed it was, Clark and Anna's Earth 2 still had that solid relationship. And it was, you can still root for them and still feel the organic naturalness of their relationship. With um Earth 1, Clark and Lois, they put them together because that's what's expected. So how can you say that Clark and Diana's relationship is obvious and it's predictable, but yet you expect for Clark to be with Lois?
It makes no sense. It really does make no sense. But anyway, I think let's get one or two more questions and then we'll wrap up for the night. This was a great episode. Wow. 2 hours and 43 minutes. Wow. We always go really long on these, but you know what? That's part of the fun.
Yes.
So, what other questions do you guys have for us in terms of like how we would handle My Adventure with Superman? Spoiler alert: we would have canceled it. Uh, how we would do even a SuperWonder animated series. That's an entire episode that we could do.
Oh yeah. We are definitely putting that on the list.
Yeah, that has to, because that would actually be really fun if we could do that and have like stuff, and we could make it basically the new 52, but take our time and build up to it. Like show what happened in those 5 years, show them hanging out and falling in love and all that. That is what you do. So, anyone else have any other questions about Lois works well with Steve Trevor or Bruce Wayne, in my opinion. Well, yeah, and I always pitched the book where it was Lois Lane and Steve Trevor. It's called United in Irrelevancy. That would be my book if I ran DC, that I would just throw out there as a #1 and just say it's a joke. There you go. That'd be my April Fool's release.
Yeah. I mean, Lois and Steve work because They are both army brats, the military.
Mhm.
Sam Lane would definitely love Steve. He would welcome him with open arms, being in the military, being a general or colonel or whatever you want Steve to be, because obviously DC doesn't know what ranking they want him to have. So, just anything like that. And then just what I would say that is actually a compelling story, because Lois can see that even with Steve being in the military, like her father, Steve is still very different from Sam Lane in a sense. So he is just a better Sam, because in that better fits her daddy issues, or he can help her with those type of daddy issues. Um, with Bruce, I would say that with how some writers want Lois to be, where she's a journalist, a reporter, but she's living in like a penthouse or whatever like that, and she kind of loves that kind of a luxury type thing. She would like Bruce Wayne. Um,
Mhm. True.
Lex, she would
Mhm.
she would kind of have this antagonistic sort of love hate for Lex.
And
That
that would
works.
later turn to love because they would both recognize that they're both evil.
I didn't say all that, but yeah,
I said what you were thinking, Britt. I said what you were thinking. All right.
yeah, yeah.
Barry asks, "What do you guys think of the idea that Lois actually works better as a Diana side character rather than a Superman side character? Because I could see them being the best friends after she shows up.
Mm, well, no, they wouldn't be best friends because Lois is very much jealous of Diana. That has been
Plus, Britt, you know the shippers would go crazy with that.
right. Um, that has been their dynamic for a long time, of Lois being jealous. Diana is much more of the friendly friendly. She would be the friendly one. So I would say that it will be more so like a one-sided beef, and Lois will try to expose Diana, as she sees her as this perfect woman, U.S. ambassador, Wonder Woman, an educator. So she would probably want to be nosy and find something to expose Diana with. So I see them more as like I said, that one-sided beef, Lois having this mental rivalry with Diana, than them being best friends.
True. Okay, so let's see. According to hang on. According to a John's interview, DC had plans to pair Wonder Woman with Superman 2 years before the new 52 even began. Interesting. Well,
Yes.
we do know that with the Dio, they were trying to find ways to break up that marriage.
Yes, that is true, that they've had the idea of Clark and Diana being together for a long while. It was just, how can they do it? And I mean, if that was your plan, you should have. We get that New 52 was and oh, today is the anniversary of New 52, 13 years.
Woo!
Um if you had that plan already in motion, you you could have done a little bit better for the planning and execution. We understand that the pressure with WB, you have to rush things out, but
What you could do is just do all the beginning stuff, even release the number ones to get that sales boost, and then say, okay, take a breath. We'll keep releasing the issues. Let's actually come up with the plan here.
yeah, you can. I mean, like I said, with the Superman and Wonder Woman book, you can have them, even if DC were to miraculously publish a new Superman and Wonder Woman book, you can have them as, a partnership, just as friends. But they, you can tell of the romantic tension that they have, and you slowly build it, or have it. an continuity book where they are in a relationship, but you go back and forth with flashbacks of how they met, of how they, still became the partnership that that developed the partnership that they have, and show them come together as a couple. There's different ways to make this work, and like I said, you can the whole everything is canon or writers cherry picking everything. You can have a book like that, even as World Finest is. It's set in the past, and really, even though Mark Waid is trying to make World's Finest fit now within the present, it doesn't necessarily have to fit with what's going on with the present. So that's the same thing with Clark and Diana. If Clark and Diana were to get a book, the only thing is that you can't name it Power Couple. So I have no idea what you can name it,
Well,
even
by the
if it
way,
is like,
Barry brings up a funny point. It's kind of telling that Lois even thinks Superman and Wonder Woman make all the sense in the world.
yeah, uh, that has been the thing within, even post crisis. It was a story with Manchester Black, even though it was a very disturbing story. But Lois Gray's fear was for Clark to leave her for Diana.
Mm-hmm.
So, that has been an ongoing thing.
Yeah, exactly. And then George Perez, RIP, had the opportunity to launch Cal and Diana post crisis. Then they definitely would have been a couple. Yeah, he was kind of setting that up. And by the way,
Yeah.
Brown as a thing. Here's the thing for an animated series idea: Superman lost power to Parasite and dropped from the sky to Themyscira's island and met Diana for the first time. This would be the premiere first season. Okay, good. Second season, they met when Clark Kent moved to Metropolis and found out that she is a neighbor in the same building. Oh, he was really going into that same building idea. Third season, Superman and Wonder Woman in an alternate universe in Earth 3, and they're stuck there. They had to take down the crime syndicate. They're working together. Fourth season, Superman marries Wonder Woman. They have two kids, but their kids love kids of two villains, and they have to deal with that as their parents. That's
That's
actually
interesting.
it's actually pretty interesting. Barry Brown, you really elaborated on that. Great job, brother.
Yeah, that is really good.
The only reason why Clark and Diana didn't end up in post-crisis was because of Byrne. Yeah, and
Yep.
he thought it was a better idea for Superman to kiss a 14-year-old. Yeah,
You are
I'm
not
never
gonna
letting
let
that
that
go.
go.
Before you say Brit, because I've had multiple people tell me that. Nope, I will never let that go. Because the fact that he is held up as like one of the premier Superman writers, and I'm like, and he did that. I know it's like one thing, but that's kind of an egregious thing to make Superman do.
Yeah. Yeah.
With Mongol being the man who has everything as he can. But if you ask Jurgens, I guess that kiss never happened. Oh, with the man who has everything, that kiss, yeah, exactly, because that was clearly a kiss on the lips, or like when they're sparring and he gives her a Mjolnir, a small like essentially replica of Mjolnir, and then the way it's drawn, it looks like they're making out.
Yeah, it really does look like that.
Right. It's comics like which actress is going to replace Gal Gadot in the DCU? I don't know. By the way, we did an episode of that. Previous was the no, it was 2 episodes ago. We did that one, but it's essentially there are a lot of them. It's too early to tell right now. And then, are we ever going to see Nubia the Black Wonder Woman live action, even cartoons? Cartoons are more likely.
Yeah.
Maybe probably not live action until we have an established Diana. What do you think, Britt?
I think, well, it was a rumor going around about Nubia would have been introduced as well in Wonder Woman 3. Um, I don't know how true that is. It was just, like I said, it was rumors throwing out plots and everything. There was on Instagram an actress that um had a hashtag Nubia before. I don't know if she was live action actress or a voice actress, but they did or do have plans for Nubia to be involved in something. So whether it is probably up, depending on how Gunn has things going, she could be in upcoming animation, or yeah, eventually they will probably want her in live action.
Mhm. Green Lantern the animated series was brilliant. Yes, it was. It was fan freaking tastic, and I wish we got more seasons. There was a Greek actress from Greek Cinema. She looked exactly like Wonder Woman from the comics. Jared, Google her. What's her name? If you're talking about the actress that voices Cassandra in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, yes, I am the one that points that on that same episode I did with Britt. I was like, this woman. She has the build. She has the look. She even has the Greek accent. Because the way it works for Diana, she has to have like olive-ish skin, and she has to be. I love Baby Beware, the Batman cartoon series. That was a good one too. But she has to have an accent. She has to have tan skin. That's about it. But anyway,
Yes.
so I think that's a good place to leave it. Britt, any concluding thoughts before we wrap up?
Well, I would, um, with us going in on My Adventures of Superman, there are Superman fans who do like it. So
And
this
that's
is all
fine.
just, yeah, it's all fine. It's just our opinion, but um, it's still very problematic. And I would rather have a Superman animation that is much more mature and more modern in a sense of, again, you're not leading on to the rom-com post-crisis um barn or Donner stuff, burn of Donner stuff. You are giving us the champion of the oppressed and a more modern, um you know, a Superman that has confidence and a little bit um of a rebel. You know, we need that.
Mhm.
But other than that, I would say that I don't know what DC has, going forward. It feels like they are just coasting by or whatever. But if there is something with Superman and Wonder Woman together, we of course would support it. But yeah, if not, I mean, best of luck to DC.
I know. But all right, so Britt, do you have any stories that you want to tease us with? About actually, first, before we do that, there's a friend that I really want to shout out, and so we occasionally do these shout outs of positive members from the community. Um, so I'm gonna put that about no. Chris Reeves' son is not playing Superman. He's playing. David Cornsweat's playing Superman. But anyway, but I want to shout out my friend V, aka a Stolen Heart. She's on Twitter, and he's and yes, Brown. There is a Discord website. You should just be able to plug in that app, that link. But anyway, so V is a good friend of mine. She posts a lot of Backcat stuff, but she's also a very big proponent for SuperWonder. She's a very, very, very loyal supporter of the channel, and I just wanted to give her a shout out.
Oh, yeah. Thank you
She's
for all your support.
she's a very good friend of mine. So on that note, Britt, do you have any stories that you would like to add for us
Okay,
to like promote
so
for us?
well, I can't um promote, I can tease it, but I can't
Oh
like
yeah.
say it. But the story that we have right now, yeah, the cat gifs are going back and forth now. We can have them going back and forth, but I'm still very much behind on the point system. Um I have finally completed chapter 4 of the Athens story, which Jared has read. So I will have that posted by Monday. We have chapter 2 of Shelter. Um, a little bit more tweaks of that, and that will be sent on to Jared for his tweaks and stuff, and then that will be posted. And just little here and there of a one shot tonight updates. That is really something that I've had um kind of lingering. So there's one story that I want to finish with that, and that will be posted as well. Um, either by this week or next week. And I always want to thank everyone for supporting the Instagram. We are now at 65,000. So, for that, that is a big thank you. And yeah, we're just going to keep the Super Wonder train going.
Oh, well, hell yeah. And thank you for watching the stream, all 45 of you. And thank you for the 1.17 thousand subscribers to the channel. It really means a lot. It means a lot to me and Britt that people actually watch this stuff, because I always say we could make like these podcasts at any point, but if no one watches them, it's not really they're ultimately meaningless if no one watches them. So the fact that like a lot of people watch it, and in fact the content started to like resonate with a lot of people, that means a lot. So I really appreciate you guys, and we will talk to you guys later. So remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lame. She belongs with General Zod. Zois and Maxabat for life. We will see you later. Bye-bye.